Hey everybody, how's it going? This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions, and I have my wonderful co-host with me that's been doing these for years now with me, and that is Peter from Crushing Crisis. How are you, my friend?
I am very well. It is a early pre-dawn morning here in Wellington, New Zealand, but what a wonderful reason to be up early to talk about all of the omnibuses we're going to get for the remainder of the year from Marvel that have been announced here exclusively on Near Mint Condition.
Hey Jack, you're fired. Crushing Crisis, thank you so much. Crushing Crisis YouTube and Crushing Crisis Blue Sky and Crushing Crisis. Are you on Twitch too? Is there somewhere?
No, you know what I mean. What do people want to watch me do live? I could do a get ready with me before every stream. That would be entertaining.
Move your books around on the shelf.
Yeah, the constant reshelving every time new omnibus is an epic
and,
ride.
And you don't make enough room throughout the year. Like, oh man, I gotta move that over. Wolverine Volume 6 comes out. Anyway,
let's talk about the real problems affecting our community. How much slack do you guys leave on your shelf when you put new stuff on? Like, how much space do you leave knowing there's going to be another book? I don't want to have to do this all over again in a month. These are the real problems facing the collector.
I usually leave about 4 to 8 spaces in trade paperbacks, and I reshuffle things around, get rid of older printings, give away things that I've double dipped in with Omnis. But I'm looking at one of my shelves, and I was like, "Ooh, I did not do that shelf justice." Looking at Iron Man, I don't know what came in. Was it a Hulk book? I don't even know what came in, honestly. That I'm like, "Ooh, why is it so stuffed already?" Yeah, welcome everybody. We do this every 2 times a year, so twice a year, where we look at all the books I've announced on Near Mint Condition from Marvel Comics, as far as Omnis. And we do a recap. But not only does it help as a recap, it helps people that are like, hey, Omar, can you add this? Can you ask Marvel to add this? So let me clarify. I do not work for Marvel Comics. I just get to announce the books that are coming out early before the catalog does. And I do have a great relationship with them. So there are times that we have asked for things to be added, and they said, yes. And there are times that we've asked things to be added, and they were like, no. Sometimes they give me a reason why no, and then sometimes they don't. Sometimes the reason is, hey, we got a future book coming out, but don't you say squat. And I don't. And then sometimes it's like, no. Like sometimes they say, no, none of this fits in there. We got other ideas for that. So that's what's going on. We are done with the announcements for this round. The catalog is both out for DC and Marvel. As a matter of fact, we are looking at the entire DC catalog tomorrow here on Near Mint Condition. Peter is joining me. Dom of X, Omnidog, Lars, Maddie, BJ Kicks, and Omnibo are all joining me for that stream at 6 p.m. looking at the entire catalog. So all of it is out now, both Marvel and DC. Maybe there could be some surprises. I don't know. Maybe I do know, and I just can't say anything until I'm asked to announce something. But that's all I will say for now. So in case you are wanting, like you have a suggestion of something getting added, what I usually do is I look at the comments and, and if enough people want me to ask, of course I will ask. So there is that. So if it's just like 1 or 2 people, because let me tell you something, I don't think there never is a time whenever I announce something that 5 or 6 people come with their own map ideas. This will be better. No, you don't understand. If they do this, this will be the way to do it. We've been waiting years for this. Why can't they do this instead of this? And it's a nightmare to keep up with messages on both Discord, Patreon, social media, emails. So I tell everybody, just hold on to your thoughts and let me do this recap. And at the recap is when I'm actually going to write down things that you all want, suggestions that you all wanted, and send over to Marvel. I think this year the biggest one was Armor Wars, of all things. People have like different ideas for that book, and I don't know how to please everybody, which I think is going to be a case of I don't think anybody's going to be pleased. Maybe we can add some of the miniseries in there. But we will see when we get to it.
It's interesting because I think it's also a case of sometimes we have to let go of our perfect maps in our brain. Like I have a perfect map in my brain for some of these books that clearly is not the direction Marvel went into, versus, wow, this book is really complete, but there's actually this one issue. Maybe Marvel didn't know that there was a short story prelude to this run and it was in Marvel Comics 277. And it's like, oh, well, that's important because that might be like a real miss. So I always
Right. I just didn't. I didn't want it to be the case of Uncanny X-Men Omnibus Volume 5, where we kept fighting and fighting for 2 issues to be added, only for 6 months later to announce the book that other people wanted because Marvel was like, "Well, I thought that was the book that you all wanted." So I don't want it to be that kind of case again. It's more of like, let's see what we can get at it if something is missing. Indeed, nothing too crazy, like adding X Factor. Although that has become a joke, X Factor 1 through 7 and annual number 1 to whatever book. Let me know when you're done so I can refresh, Peter.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right, we're going to start the recap. So everybody hold on to your butts, please. And don't forget, we have the current Marvel Epic reprint poll going on, open until this Sunday. So if you're an Epicurean, go and cast your vote. I'd hate for you to miss out on it. We'll be doing the same thing with the Omnis. Oh my gosh.
After reprint Omnis, we all know what comes, right, Omar?
Most Wanted, man. This these next 2 months are a nightmare. I think James was writing out my schedule and I got overwhelmed when he was just typing the things that I was doing live, and I'm like, I need to slow down. I think I have to move my X and the Evergreen until later on, just till we can get, because this is really difficult while putting things together behind the scenes is kind of a pain. It's not as easy as you would think. All right, so this is the recap. August 2025, January 2026. I think I've shared a story with having a conversation with Marvel, and they put this out there because I know that this is one that a lot of people wanted. So they snuck this into July. This was voted at number 18. Thank you, Peter, for that. And big thank you to Dom of X for doing the slideshow, my partner in crime. And this is coming out on the 25th of July. This is a huge book. This is a big book. I did not expect them to do Agent Venomnibus and the Space Knight era together. I thought Space Knight would be its own thing and they could do like Guardians of the Galaxy with it and some of the other stories. But woo! Amazing Spider-Man 654, 654.1, Venom 1 through 42, 13.1, 13 to 13.4, 27.1, Venom Space Knight 1 through 13, Minimum Carnage Alpha 1, Scarlet Spider 10 through 11, and Minimum Carnage Omega number 1. Here are your 2 covers by Tony Moore and Mike Deodato Jr. And as always, covers are always subject to change, as well as release dates. So that's something to keep in mind.
Now, all throughout this, when I look at every slide or every announcement, I kind of think of it in a few ways. I think, has it ever been collected before? We'll hit a few things in this poll that haven't. This clearly has, because it's from the trade paperback era. So many of us have the trades, and some of them were in initial release standard size hardcovers. But then the next question I ask is, has it all been collected in oversized before? Because some of these books do recollect things that have been in like OHCs and things like that. This has not been oversized before. So that circle of 4 crossover 13.1 through 13.4 has been an oversized before. Not only was it originally oversized, but it's been collected, I think, in possibly in the X23 omnibus, I want to say. Don't quote me on that. But a lot of this stuff has only ever existed in the original trades and then the reprint of the Remender and Bunn trades. And so this is actually a pretty big deal. And then the other thing I often ask myself is this totally covered by epics? Because we're going to hit some stuff that's classic material from the Silver or Bronze Age where it's like, oh yeah, many of us Epicureans have it. This had not all the way been covered in modern epics. So this is a pretty big deal to get on our shelves, and it's been demanded for a while. This is not the first time it's been high on the poll.
Yeah. I'm really surprised they didn't do Rick Remender Omnibus, right? They very well could have. By the way, this particular book has 1,464 pages, and it's $150. They could have very well split this up into 2 Omnis, 2 thinner Omnis at half the page count, probably $125, but they're putting it all together. Somebody was asking if this is bigger than Squirrel Girl.
Not quite.
No, It's not bigger than the biggest omnibus, which is AVX. AVX, I think, still holds the title of biggest omnibus, which has, I think, 1,580 pages, if I'm not mistaken. Any more Eddie Brock Omnis outside of Venomnibus 1, 2, 3, and the Spider-Man versus Venom? A little bit of Web of Spider-Man and the Venom by Donny Cates omnibus. Not yet.
Hold on, I have one thing to check here based on the chat. I said it's not entirely covered by Epic Collection. That is not true. It is entirely covered by Epic's volumes 4, 5, and 6. A good catch there from, I missed, Dara Fleming. So this is a case where Marvel first put out the modern era epics to give them space to sell. The last of the 3 came out in 2024. And then after a little bit of breathing room, we're getting the omnibus. So good catch from the chat.
So the question that I've seen, Peter, do you think, and I hate talking about mapping because sometimes it spoils things for people.
Oh gosh, I always forget I have hotkey powers. Sorry. Oh my gosh, bring back the.
I got you.
Hi, everybody.
I got you. Do you think we could get a Mac Gargan era in omnibus format, or is there not enough? Because he didn't have his own series during the time.
Yeah, I've tried a couple different ways to figure out how that would be, and I think we tried to put it in the poll last year. I think what it comes out as is it's really just a Dark Reign omnibus or a Dark Avengers companion or something like that, because he doesn't have a ton of stuff that he does on his own without the team other than the Dark Reign Sinister Spider-Man series. By the way, catch in the chat, Hunter Johnson, the Circle of 4 was not in the X-23 omnibus,
correct,
but it was originally oversized.
It was an oversized.
I know that because I have it.
Oh, Phil, you don't remember that era? Yeah.
But I will say in this one, I don't think there's anything else you can add. I mean, somebody might make the argument like, oh, he was on Guardians of the Galaxy, but that's in the Guardians of the Galaxy omnibus. He does make, he's in Secret Avengers. One day, I'm sure we'll get that omnibus.
Especially with Ed Brubaker, right? And Rick
Remender.
Yeah.
So I just don't see, I really don't think there's anything to add here. There could be a short story somewhere that somebody can think of, but I think this is a good map.
They have slowed down on reprints, which they do from time to time. So if you saw a book that was in the reprint poll and it didn't make it this time, make sure you come back and vote for it again and double down. Let them know people are still interested. I am curious. There's a book that came in at number 20, the Jim Lee and Chris Claremont Omnibus Volume 1. But now with the announcement of a book we're going to be talking about, I wonder if that book will still make the top 20 or not. All right. Spider-Man Gang War Omnibus, one of the latest series from Spider-Man in an event. So collecting the Gang War First Strike, Amazing Spider-Man 39 to 44, Daredevil Gang War 1 through 4, Deadly Hands of Kung Fu Gang War 1 through 3, Luke Cage 1 through 4, Jackpot One Shot, Miles Morales, Spider-Man 13 through 14, and Spider-Woman 1 through 4. Now, this is another era of Zeb Wells writing Spider-Man. This is the second omnibus that is an event omnibus. And I'm sure much like the Donny Cates Ven omnibus, when Zeb Wells gets his own omnibus, I'm sure it will have the main Gang War story, none of the miniseries, as well as a Dark Web story. That's just me, I think. Okay, how about this? I'm 99% sure it will be. But yeah, this is the most recent event at Spider-Man. Just, not to be confused with the original Gang War event that Spider-Man had.
Now, this was on the poll last year, did not get a lot of votes, but that's not surprising because it was so new that people had only really read it in singles at that point. We did map it for the poll, though, and we had a few more issues of the main Spider-Man title to give context around it. And there were also some Gang War-related stories in Spider-Man Unlimited Infinity comic, which is the online Marvel Unlimited comic. It doesn't seem like Marvel's taking the approach of putting that into any of the omnibuses. They're just going to leave that digital only. So there's no real misses on this map. They could have included another couple of issues of Amazing Spider-Man just for context, but in terms of everything that officially was a Gang War tie-in, it's all here.
That Spider-Woman is the new ongoing series too, wasn't it? The Steve Fox series.
kicked off the ongoing series. And another thing to note is there was originally, oh no, I'm thinking of something else. Yeah, the Luke Cage series tied into this. Miles had an arc tying into this. And then there was the Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. And that Daredevil gang war is actually Elektra as Daredevil. It is not Matt Murdock.
Hey, Gabriel, how you doing, buddy? Is the OG Spider-Man gang war a good story in your opinion, Omar and Crisis? I haven't read it in years. I mean, I'll be honest, I think much like a lot of that era that wasn't X-Men, it didn't quite leave an impact on me. What about you, Peter? Did you like it? The original
I can't even think of what issues the original one covers off the top of my head.
It wasn't like an event. It wasn't anything like this, right?
No, I know, but I can't even remember where this. I'm like,
that's the thing. I don't think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think the issues have been collected in Epic Collections yet. And I want to say they haven't.
Yeah, looking at the issue range, I'm not super familiar with that late 200s Spider-Man. I mean, I know it from a guide making perspective, but I haven't read a lot of those anytime recently, so I do not have an opinion on that.
No, there are no evergreen Omnis. I don't think Marvel or DC do that.
Well, now's the unofficial Chaos Maker Crisis. Let me say this. To me, an Omni that gets a reprint every 2.5 years, so like every 30 months, is effectively evergreen at that point, because that means it's coming back pretty much as soon as people start getting a little bit excited about it. And if you look, there are certain Silver Age books that do tend to get reprinted about every 2.5 years if you look at their reprint schedule. So nobody's calling them evergreen. Nobody said that. This is not an announcement, but I think the first two Fantastic Four omnibuses, the first Spider-Man omnibus, they do get reprinted an awful lot. That's as close to evergreen as and then on the DC side, there are certain books that they bring out again and again. Like at this point, Death and Return of Superman omnibus has never truly gone out of stock.
I don't know. I don't agree.
No.
All right, we're already.
You just want to fight with me? It's because you're jonesing for another evergreen stream. Let's
go.
Omar.
No, I just think if I were a new collector and reader, and I wanted to go ahead and get something like Spider-Man, like you mentioned, Spider-Man Volume 1, it's out of print, and how long do I wait? Right, it's been a couple of years, and I find out that it's not evergreen. It's not always in print. DC doesn't keep Omnis in print either, not truly evergreen. They do go in and out of stock. I think the only thing that they ever, and nothing has been confirmed, is Watchmen.
Yeah.
And that's mostly due to licensing and owning that IP. Although, yes, you are at any time able to see Jeff Johns in evergreen form, the Green Lantern. I think Volume 2 went out of print a couple of years ago during the pandemic, like everything else did. JSA 1 through 3 went out of print. So even they don't do it.
Sorry. It's hotkeys. I don't know what I'm doing.
Here, let me take care of it. There you go. I got you. All right, we have moved on. I've never seen Green Lantern or Snyder Batman ever not be available below cover price. Where do you live, Hobbs? All right. Fall of the House of X and Rise of the Powers of X. This was voted in the top 200. My goodness. For another one that was a most recent event for X-Men this time around. Fall of the House of X 1 through 5. Rise of Powers of X 1 through 5. X-Men 30 through 34. Resurrection of Magneto 1 through 4. Dead X-Men 1 through 4. X-Men Forever 1 through 4. Invincible Iron Man 13 through 20. Avengers 12 through 13. Miss Marvel Mutant Menace 1 through 4. Cable 1 through 4. Material from X-Men 35. And this is the end of the Krakoa era. And later on, you're going to see the beginning here in a little bit. Which, my goodness, that's crazy. Because I think they're going to treat this as an event omnibus.
Well,
which
what's really
means
interesting, I
go
mean,
ahead,
I have a lot of opinions on this one. What's
talk to
really
me.
interesting here is that this, so this was X-Men as it came out starting from the first week of January of 2024. The only books it does not include from the X-Men line that we're still releasing were X-Force, which was wrapping up a final arc, and Wolverine, which is already out in the Sabretooth War Wolverine Omnibus. So all of these those all happened before any of these issues happened in continuity, and all these issues came out pretty much at a weekly pace, some 2 per week, and they explicitly were in the reading order as they came out week by week. So for those of you who remember Powers of X and House of X and how they were interwoven as a weekly schedule when they came out, this was very similar. Fall of the House of X and Rise of the House of or the Powers of X were interwoven, but interwoven also in with those were issues of X-Men, issues of Dead X-Men, issues of X-Men Forever. So this is going to be a real mapping question, because honestly, none of the series read correctly on their own. It was outrageous to me that Marvel released individual trades. They do not make sense. So this is going to be a real test of if Marvel's got what it takes to map things in the correct order for the KRAKOA era. There is an explicit order. We all experienced it because it was the release order. So if it doesn't read in order and they've got them series by series, it's going to be a terrible sign. I don't think they will. I think it will be in read order because, as Omar said, it's an event. So if much like an event omnibus, I think it's going to be in reading order. Now, the question of whether we would get some remapped version of this that includes that X-Force and Wolverine material, I don't know, because I think that would make more sense to put in the Fall of the House of X omnibus that would precede this. But we'll never know until we get up to like volume 11 of the anthology mapped KRAKOA. So if you really just want to read the whole ending of KRAKOA, this is it. There's nothing missing, except for we could make the argument that it should have the X-Men 2024 wedding special, which was effectively Marvel's Pride issue of last year, which Kieran Gillen did write and was an epilogue to his Immortal X-Men. I would expect it to be in a Gillen omnibus if we ever get one announced, but that's really the only thing that sticks out here. And of course, there are online issues from X-Men Online Unlimited Infinity Comic that should be in here, but it seems like Marvel's made the call. We're not getting those in print.
This is 1,256 pages for people that are asking. I think it was Bar was asking. And let me get to this comment. I like that this exists before the dawn of X Omni line will slowly die. So a little behind the scenes. I know I've shared this before on the Saturday stream, and maybe I have or haven't with some of the people here, but they weren't going to do a Dawn of X omnibus. But because I remember having when I had the conversation with Marvel on the phone and seeing it and Agent Venom Omnibus pop up, plus a couple of other books that I suggested, they kind of thought it over and they were like, yes. And we'll talk about the mapping of that here in a little bit too, because it's about to come up. So that idea was not even on, like when they sent me the list, Dawn of X was not on there. When they sent me that list that I look at months before I record the videos, sometimes it changes and sometimes it's like a week, sometimes a couple of days. They're like, hey, we're putting this book in. Can you take that other book out? There was no Dawn of X omnibus. It wasn't until after I had the phone call with them that they added it. So let's move on to the NAM, voted at number 48. Collecting the first 45 issues in the material from Savage Tales 1 and 4, which is really the beginning of the NAM. So super excited for this one. And I mean, there is one cover here for people that read it, and that is, of course, the Michael Golden cover. There's nothing wrong with the direct market cover by Romita and Ron Friends, but I mean, I know why they did that, right? And actually, if you've read that comic, you know why those superheroes are there, if this is actually taking place during the Vietnam War. So yeah, I'm super excited for this one. I can't believe we're actually getting it. There's a lot of great stories in here, and not enough people talk about it or even know about it.
Yeah, I was a huge supporter of this. It was on my omnibus poll. Like I voted for it on my ballot, and we've heard me stump for it many times. I think it's historically significant. I think it's a way better read than people realize. And a lot of this, again, I talked about have things been collected. Much of this has never been collected. There were 2 or 3 classic trades, and then there was a one later trade of the storyline it briefly shared with Punisher. But a lot of this has never been collected in color. So there's not a lot of omnibuses we could say that about, because to say that an omnibus has never been collected in color now, it has to be something that has no epic line, because most of the epic lines have touched things at this point. So it's a vanishing few books that we can talk about in that way, usually from the 80s and 90s, and this is one of them.
So what exactly is Nam? Never heard of it. So it was a comic series that lasted for 80 plus issues. Sorry, I went a little ahead. And it took place, of course, during the Vietnam War. From, I think it started in 1965 all the way to maybe 72, 73. But what was unique about it is those first couple of years, the comics were coming out monthly, and that's how much time had passed since the last story arc. So it was like on real time, but of course back in the 60s, right? If that makes sense. And much like Real War, you know, the characters that you would get to know, like that tour of duty, a lot of the characters were in like a year tour of duty, so they would get replaced by new characters, new people that would take their place. It was a really cool series, way ahead of its time, and oh my goodness, the fact that it lasted well over 80 issues is just amazing, with great artwork by Michael Golden too. Larry Hama did have a lot to do with it at first, like kicking off this idea. I think at first it was edited by him, but a lot of it was written by Doug Murray, and went on to become this series after those first two issues that came out in black and white. So it's a really good series.
Somebody in the chat, actually a good friend of our many channels, Elon Reese, asked how this treats the Vietnamese people as a comic. And I would say it's a product of the time. It's still from the 80s. There are going to be some things that you don't love. But I will say in general that this series was a relatively honest and unflinching look at events, limited events from the Vietnam War. And sometimes it does portray very sad, very true massacres that happened during the war in an unflinching way. So it's not, I wouldn't replace a Wikipedia entry with this, but I also think that for Marvel in the period, it's actually a lot more honest and unflinching than anything else they were doing, which to me is why it's so significant.
You know what, to kind of when you brought that up, Elon, like, I had a similar question, but it was my friend wants to get it for his dad, and his dad was in the Vietnam War. So he asked me, he was like, you know, how does it treat the Vietnam vets? Is there any, you know, anti-patriotism, if you will, right, in it? And I don't remember any of that. It's been a while since I've read a lot of this stuff. I just remember, like Peter, like it was way ahead of its time. I want to say like they were bringing up things like Agent Orange and things like that within the book that, you know, none of the comics were really talking about.
I will say, and again, I don't have a perfect issue to issue memory of this because I haven't read every issue because it's never been reprinted, but I've read some, that it's not taking joy in following war criminals. That's not what the book is. Generally, the U.S. veterans that it's following in the time span of the Vietnam War were the heroes. So even, you know, they're the ones who are intervening. There's one point where they like pick up a kid and like sit them on the tank. So it's got a bit of a positive view of the American involvement, even though it does show some of their shortcomings.
Now let's move on to Namor.
Yes, we have waited so long.
We have. And I know the Epicureans are upset because this actually has them issues that are not collected in Epic Volume, what would be Epic Volume 2, I believe. So collecting Submariner 1, Fantastic Four, 4, 6, 9, 14, 27, 33. There goes. That's okay. I'm still reading. By the way, it's the 5th window the next time it happens.
Okay, thank you.
Got you. Avengers 3 through 4. X-Men 6, Daredevil 7, material from Tales to Astonish 70 to 101, Iron Man and Submariner number 1, Tales to Suspense 79 through 80. No, I take it back. It does not have it doesn't either, because I forgot. This is mapped different than the Epics. Strange Tales 107 and 125, and Not Brand Ech 1, 4, and 9 coming in the top 100. Woo! Look at that. I love that cover, man. Give me that standard edition cover, baby. That's the one. some Gene Colan artwork through here as well. But yeah, the stuff has not been collected in omnibus format. It has been collected in Masterworks, but again, map different, as well as Epic Collections, which also have a different mapping. So it's finally getting
thoroughly confuse you.
What's that?
Just to thoroughly confuse everyone.
Well, yeah, because I forget they do that sometimes, right? They did that with Black Panther the early years. Silver Surfer, the mapping is different between the Omni and obviously the Epic Collections. But it is, let's see, this is the 4th Namor Omnibus, right? We had the pre-war, the post-war, and the John Byrne, Jay Lee era. So this is the 4th one, which is just crazy. But hey, we're finally getting some of this material in omnibus format for the first time. And I want to say this is Peter, you could jump in, but is this the very last superhero material that we need from that era? Right? I'm not talking about Tales of Suspense, Tales of, like, not the Human Torch stories, but like characters that had their own comic that aren't westerns or Millie the Model and books like that. But is this the last book that we need from that era? Because I mean, we needed like Captain Marvel for a while. Adam Warlock, right? We needed them, and that now is Submariner the last one from that era that we need? That had their own comic, right? Not like...
Yeah, we might be all the way up to the Bronze Age at this point. As you said, there's still some superhero
right. There's stories
from
Human
the
Torch,
anthologies. Like we don't have an Ant-Man omnibus, right? But yeah, I think in the Silver Age, this could be the last.
Okay, somebody brought up, that's a good point, Sergeant Fury.
Yeah, but that's not a superhero book. But yeah, yes.
Hey, he becomes a superhero later.
Right, but his superhero book was him in S.H.I.E.L.D., like that, which has been collected.
Oh my God. Of course we forgot about the humans.
But they would not, if we're taking Omar's question to the letter, they do not get their own comic book series until what, 1975? So that's Bronze Age. So we're basically asking, have we batted cleanup on superhero caped figures in the Silver Age? And so I think, that had their own title. I think the answer is yes, that we're in anthology books. We don't have an Ant-Man omnibus. We don't have a Human Torch and Thing Strange Tales omnibus.
But Jenny saying the Inhumans had a one-shot in 1969.
Jenny!
They stuck in there. It's the Inhumans then.
All right.
Thank you for answering that.
Jenny with the clutch information.
Symbiote Spider-Man by Peter David.
Hold on, whoa, back up the truck. I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready.
I'm sorry. I jumped the gun.
I want to help people just visualize this for a second, because Omar talked about how the map is so different than the other maps. I just want to give you a little bit of framework for that. So the Epic Collection map starts with Submariner coming back at the beginning of the Silver Age, which lasts for about 20 issues of him going through other titles, including a lot of Fantastic Four.
Yes.
It's really good. It reads really well. I've always despaired it had never been in any one place before Epic Collection #1. Most of that is here. It is a good read. Then after that, this has the first 2 Silver Age Masterworks worth of material, which collects all of his split half of Tales of Suspense. That's why you see Tales of Suspense is in the material from, because he split that with another character in that range of issues. So then he gets to Submariner 1968 #1, which is the launch of his ongoing issue title. And you might say, why would you put #1 by itself in a book? That's crazy. Wouldn't you put No, that's exactly how the Masterworks did it. The Masterworks mapped the end of Tales to Astonish, and then they have the Submariner and Iron Man one-shot, which is basically a recap issue of both of what they had been doing in Tales to Astonish, and then Submariner #1. That's how it's always been collected. So this pretty much kills the Epic #1. It kills the first 2 Marvel Masterworks, but there are still 72 issues of his series in total, minus this #1. So 71 more issues. So if you're looking at completing this line, we need 2 more books. And then from his series, he goes to Supervillain Team Up. So you will still see Namor, Submariner, Silver Age on the Marvel poll this year, but this takes out that first big hunk.
Can I move on now?
Yes, I just wanted to let the people know.
Okay, wow. That was so much more informative than me going, wait, no, I'm wrong. It's map different. Symbiote Spider-Man by Peter David. This is one of the retro series. I want to say this is the first retro series that has... No. Well, Maestro has been collected in omnibus format, another series by Peter David. But this one didn't have like a one shot by Peter David in the past, right? They're not collecting the Spectacular Spider-Man by Peter David. They're just collecting the Symbiote Spider-Man. So it's collecting Symbiote Spider-Man 1 through 5, Alien Reality 1 through 5, King in Black 1 through 5, Crossroads 1 through 5, and Spider-Man 2099 1 through 5, which I believe comes out soon in trade paperback. I haven't read that one. The rest have been so fun. I love Crossroads. King in Black has been collected in omnibus format. It is part of the King in Black omnibus. The rest have been collected in trade paperbacks. A couple of them are out of print. I know Peter has read this series, but I'm a huge fan of this series. It's a retro series done by Peter David. It takes place in the past. And if you're thinking, wait a second, how in the hell is it taking place in the past if King in Black is a tie-in? Peter David finds a unique way of tying the character of Spider-Man in the past with Null. It's really cool. I dug it. Yeah, people have asked me to ask about that, and I need to send an email. Actually, let me go ahead and write that. Peter, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that should be here. Also in the chat, people are saying that even though it's titled under Hulk, that the Joe Fixit mini is pretty much, and I agree, is pretty much a Spidey co-starring mini, also by Peter David, also throwback, but it's not under the Symbiote brand, whereas the Absolute Carnage issue is part of the Symbiote brand.
And that one's written by David, right?
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. Peter, take over while I write these things down.
Sure.
Because a lot of people have asked me about that Absolute Carnage Symbiote one shot.
So if you don't fully kind of understand this and you go, oh, I don't really read new comics, or I like Peter David or what it is, all of these stories are set during the black suit era that Peter David originally wrote. They're not explicit about what issues they fit between, but you usually can tell the chronology based on how much independence the suit is showing in the story. Because of course we all remember that there's that one key period where the suit is going out using Peter's body while he thinks he's asleep and swinging around Manhattan and doing stuff on its own. So usually you can tell by what state the suit is in, but these are all, so they're not all like back-to-back stories. They all just slot into that run of kind of like leading up to the reckoning he has with the suit, where he rings its bell both proverbially and literally. So it's I wouldn't describe them as essential. The thing that Peter David does that's fun is he creates team ups that you kind of wish you would have seen. One of them, I think the King in Black one, uses Rocket Raccoon as a team up at the time, which is kind of funny because he had never been seen by any Earth characters, I don't think, at that point. But it all kind of does make sense. I mean, Peter David's very good at this continuity stuff. So I wouldn't classify this as stories he meant to write, which some of these retcons are, like when Claremont does the, like, this is the untold story of Wolverine and Psylocke and Madripoor. The idea is that Big Daddy Claremont always meant to write that one. That's not what this... That's not what this is. This is Peter David going, ooh, now that we know all that we know in the present day, there are things we can insert into continuity. There's some fun Doctor Strange stuff, fun stuff with Kang. There's just a lot of really fun stuff in these.
Big Daddy Claremont. I think I'm going to start calling him that every time I interview him. Could have thrown in. So what do you think about the Joe Fixit? I see Hobbs brought it up. I'm trying to see if anybody else... Because that one, add Joe Fixit, and it's a must-buy. But I've read the Joe Fixit one, and it does feature Spider-Man. And it's the one with the Kingpin, right? Like, where they're both in Vegas, and they run into... Or he runs into the Kingpin. He is wearing the black outfit during that time.
Yeah, but in that mini, is he wearing the black outfit? I think he might not be. I think that's the question. Let me hit the stacks. You got a super chat, by the way, while I'm looking that
I'll get it. I was just thinking.
Okay. Omar's deep in thought, Philip. Hang on.
Oh man, that's a tough one. Let me get this one. Uncle Omar, any word on Punisher Max Omnibus Volume 2? I just wrote that down earlier. Thank you, Bobby. Your avatar is cracking me up. But I am asking about that. See what the status is of that. And I'm going to get the Philip super chat. Thank you, Philip. Got to go back to work with Peter, but thank you, Peter, for informing us instead of just trying to rush through all the listings like Omar. Joking. It's good to see you, my friend.
Philip, you're going to give me a strike for your super chat. You're going to get me in trouble.
For Peter.
To answer everybody's question, he's in the blue and red in Joe Fixit. So probably not a fit for this omnibus.
Okay. And what was the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is the one that I have to ask about, because I let Dom know about Captain Marvel. Right? Yeah, he announced. He told me he did on the Saturday morning stream. Now I got to figure out what's going on with Punisher Max 2, which was in the catalog, and Guardians Omni 2. All right. Anything else about this? Thoughts, prayers?
Thoughts and prayers.
And I wish I did. I'd have a better car. That's all.
I'm just like, can I get one comp copy of something, Marvel? Can I get one special Dazzler cover? Elmo's gotta fly to New Zealand to give me a Dazzler copy.
Dude, I would be happy to send you my Cosmic X-Men after I'm done reviewing it. But you live in New Zealand. I'm not doxing you, but I'm just saying. You know how much that would cost me? I'd rather send you money so you can buy your own copy of Cosmic X-Men.
That's right. That's right. I'm not asking you to send it. I'm asking Marvel. Talk about Big Daddy Marvel. Send me some copies.
They're gonna ask you to move. That'll be in the contract.
Yeah, right.
All right. All New X-Men by Brian Michael Bendis. All New X-Men 1 through 15, 18 through 41, and Guardians of the Galaxy 11 through 13. All right. Here's the thing. I know people were like, "Where's Battle of the Atom?" And I was quiet about it because I knew I was going to be announcing it with Uncanny X-Men. But the other thing, I know you and I don't agree on this. The Black Vortex. I think you're a no, right? Don't add it because it doesn't make any sense to add it to this. I say yes because I think it adds, like, you know, it's angel changes, and I know it happens within the pages of All New, and it's not collected in omnibus format in the Guardian. It should have been in the Guardians of the Galaxy Omnibus Volume 1 by Brian Michael Bendis. What
I mean, Black Vortex. The tricky thing is, it was ordered like it was a direct crossover with like an explicitly numbered reading order. But a lot of the specific issues, if you've read them, and there was an OHC at the time, they're not continuous to each other. Like sometimes one person just goes off and does their own thing, and it doesn't tie into the greater plot at all. So if we put all of that in here, and I think it's more than 12 issues, I want to say, I'd have to look at one of my guides, but it's a lot of it is there's no all new X-Men characters in it. So and even though the outcome is like Angel gets different wings, you would be reading side quests of all these Guardians characters in this all new X-Men omnibus. So then the question becomes,
so it's more of a Guardians story.
Well, it's kind of like more of a everybody for themselves story. I mean, Nova has a tie-in. I think Cyclops in his Marvel Now solo series has a story in it, right? And so I think the question we're asking really here is, would we want some of that crossover in here, or would that just make people angrier? Because with good reason, we're a little flustered that it wasn't in the Bendis Guardians book. Now, could it be crammed into that second Bendis Guardians omnibus? Maybe that's why it's been so delayed. Who knows? Could we get some of those?
That's too no.
Because it's earlier than that.
Yeah, it belongs in that first omnibus. If you're gonna do it in reading order, I mean, I'd rather them at that point reprint Black. But again, I don't run Marvel, and I want, you know, what the majority wants, right?
Yeah.
So Black Vortex, I mean, that could be the other option too. They could reprint the oversized hardcover.
I am maybe a little surprised they didn't do, like, I think there was an alpha issue that maybe surprises me that that's not in here, just to give context to like what's going on in the issue that we're going to see. The thing that I'm surprised that nobody's going wild about constantly the way they are about Black Vortex is, why isn't the Cyclops series in here? Now, I know it's because it's not by Bendis.
Yeah, that says Brian Michael Bendis. That's why. Yeah,
but if we're talking about he goes off camera from this series to do that, I mean, to me, for me personally, pour moi, that to me, I would rather see in here than all of Black Vortex. But that's just the Crisis opinion. And I'm sure we could get some kind of X-Men companion at some point that is like that in the Storm series and all the solo series from this period.
Oh, I would be good with that. What about X-Men Gold? That's something I didn't see anybody bring up. I think I was the only one that cared about that. X-Men Gold, the one shot, the X-Men Gold one shot. Do you remember what I'm talking about? Not the ongoing series, but the X-Men Gold.
No, I know.
Okay.
Yeah, but so because Bendis has like a story in it?
A story in it. Mm-hmm. Plus, it's got that beautiful, I think it's Olivier Coipel, right? Olivier Coipel.
Let's see. Well,
It's
that
the one where
X-Men.
like Havoc is sitting down on an invisible chair. You know the cover I'm talking about, right?
I'm
Old
trying
man Logan.
Okay, so it's in 2014.
Yeah, it's a one shot. It's like
I
it's
don't. Does
celebrating like
Bendis actually have a story in there?
I don't know if I cared when I was going to suggest adding it. I think
There's a Claremont, and that's a Kitty Pryde throwbacky story. There is, gosh, sorry, this is taking a while to load, and I'm trying to go through all of it on Marvel Unlimited real fast. I don't think there's a Bendis story.
Aha.
The second story
It's
is
collected
Stan Lee.
in this. It's cool. Aha! Look at my brain. It's collected in this oversized hardcover volume 2 that says all new X-Men. Yeah.
I don't know.
It says right here, X-Men plus the X-Men Gold 1 anniversary special. So it is.
All right. Well, then maybe it should be in here.
But then again, I don't have to. It's just me for a completist sake that was like, what about this? Like I said,
what OHC are you saying that it's in?
All new X-Men, volume 2.
Well, it says it includes material from Gold #1. It doesn't. I don't
on
think
the back, my friend, it says plus the X-Men Gold 1 anniversary special.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm just saying. No, it's the whole thing, dude.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, then it should probably be in this omnibus.
Maybe. It's not by Bendis. It's not by Bendis, so they're gonna be like, it's not by Bendis. Keep your
more things for the companion.
All right. My brain is always working on overtime, my friend. Omar versus Crushing Crisis. No, it's just we're having a friendly debate, guys.
But here's the bottom line on this, despite all of our little concerns. This is a complete story. You're not.
Oh yeah.
You can read all of this. This is how it was presented in the oversized hardcovers. You're not going to miss anything. This is exactly how it was originally collected, except for even the annual. Originally, people might be saying, "Where's the annual?" That's in the Uncanny Omnibus, which it always was collected that way. The annual wasn't even collected with these original oversized hardcovers. Also, there was a recap of Black Vortex in the original oversized hardcovers of this. So I expect that this would also have a recap of Black Vortex, even though it doesn't have all of the issues.
Yes. So if you want Battle of the Atom added, if you want Black Vortex, you can find out how awful all that era was.
All right, let's keep it moving.
Annihilation,
exciting reprint.
You all voted for it. It came in at number 9, and we are getting it in August. Collecting Nova 1 through 12, Annual number 1, Annihilation Conquest, Prologue, Star-Lord 1 through 4, Quasar 1 through 4, Wraith 1 through 4, Conquest 1 through 4, and Saga number 1. And yes, this was my favorite modern cosmic story. I love, as much as I loved Annihilation, I love Annihilation Conquest even more. And this is the Omnibus. That just shows how long you've been collecting books, right? You collect the books. This is actually the only third printing of it. It's been reprinted. It's only, right? It's crazy to say. Well, I mean, you talked about Spider-Man, and Spider-Man's only been reprinted 5 times. Or it's on its 5th printing. In 20 years, that's, what's 5? Let's do the division, right? How much is that? Crisis? 4. Every 4 years, that book is getting printed. See what I mean? If I were a new collector and I was coming in and like the book is out of print and I'm like, when's the next printing? Just saying, hey, Maddie, who is joining us tomorrow. And I know she loves her some Conquest. So you all voted for this. It's the same covers as before. You have Wraith, the character that really doesn't show up again in the cosmic era. And you have Annihilus. What's he? They're not Annihilus. Ultron. What's he doing there? Peter, what do you think of the story? Do you dig it?
I love this. I think there's a reason that people are so crazy about it. It's the birth of the Guardians of the Galaxy. It's an incredible read. Like if you've never read it, the initial Annihilation is great. But the initial Annihilation I would compare to all of the Fellowship coming together at the beginning of Lord of the Rings. Like they're just meeting each other. And a lot of these cosmic characters in the original Annihilation, and then Annihilation Conquest is like the second half into Two Towers of Lord of the Rings, of like they're together and stuff is messed up.
Way to bring New Zealand into this conversation.
Yeah, I got to give my little Hobbit flavor there.
This is the beginning of the Guardians of the Galaxy, as Peter said, but it is the Guardians of the Galaxy like you've seen in the movies. It wasn't Marvel reacting to the movies going, hey, let's put a team together like they have in the movies. It's actually the other way around. James Gunn saw and read this and fell in love with this band of characters that don't really belong with each other and made, a trilogy of movies. It's so good. The archive edition of Secret Wars Gallery Edition is coming out. This is, of course, something that I announced. I think it was going to be called the Master Edition at first. I can't remember how I announced it. But it is the facsimile oversized. So it is the size of those gallery editions, the big books that Marvel releases. But it will have matte paper stock. That is something that I asked about. And then it will have all the ads. All of the ads. So if you're a fan of like the way comics were back in your day, and you don't want to pay $200 for the Taschen books, but these are also smaller, then look into getting this. And it comes with 3 covers. There's 3 choices. I think they're all Mike Zeck, right? Mike Zeck. Yeah, I think so. So yeah, bigger than Omnis though. Tolkien is rotating in his grave. Why is he rotating?
Because I'm using him to explain Guardians of the Galaxy. I think Tolkien would love Guardians.
He would love it. There's a talking raccoon and a freaking ant. Because Groot, I'm sure, is related to some of those trees. I got your back, baby. I got your back. Taschen upped their prices too, at least in Europe. Woo-wee. Yeah.
I mean, I have 2 of those.
I don't want to talk about prices
in this room, and they're a deadly weapon. I mean, they're honestly the one of them.
Huge, man.
I'm like, why did I buy this? I don't. How could any human being read this? You need your whole couch to set it down upon.
I don't think people read them. I think they're beautiful. I'm with them. I love them. I think they're great. I don't know if people actually read them.
I did it again.
Oh my God. All right. The Mighty Thor Omnibus Volume 5. That's right. People have a fear that Marvel isn't going to reprint the stuff. I see those comments often when so much new modern material is being collected. By new modern, we're talking about 20 years to present day. But I think it's one of those things. If you're collecting only classic stuff, of course you're going to be muffled, right? You're going to be upset. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, for every freaking classic, there's like 10 modern things. But they also have to sell these books, right? And the classic material, unfortunately, just doesn't sell as well. As much as we love it, some there too, although Thor wasn't one of my favorites, it just doesn't sell as well. But at least they're still coming out with them, just like DC still coming out with classic Silver Age and Golden Age stuff. So worry not. But this is collecting Thor 229 to 266, annuals 5 and 6, and Marvel Spotlight 30 and Marvel Premiere 26. The stuff in here has been collected in epic format completely. And I'm right, Peter? I know Masterworks, yes.
All right, hold on. I gotta fact check Omar once again. And I'm not Curtis, so I don't have them all committed to memory the way that he does.
I can't believe they're going.
So Epics and Hulk have collected continuously from his debut to 262. The first gap in Epic Hulk is issue 263.
Epic Thor, you mean?
Oh, sorry. I thought we were still talking about Hulk. Well, then you're gonna have to give me another minute.
Okay. Dude, we ain't talked about Hulk in like where are you?
I don't know. I'm still flustered that I keep changing the.
Can't believe they're going 5 and still no 2 reprint. Is there something in volume 2 that offends David? Yes, the cells.
All right, hold on. So now I've got
serious.
Thor is even collected further than that. Thor has been completely covered in Epic to the beginning of Walt Simonson. So
yeah,
Thor
that's what I thought.
Okay. Epic to 336.
Yeah. So Omnibus 5 will take us to 266. The next one will take us to Ragnarok 300. Damn. That's going to be cool. Yeah, make sure you go and vote for Thor Volume 2 if you want it reprinted. Seriously, if that's because I need it too. I'm with you, man. I need it too. I don't know why. I sold them years ago. But now that I have this channel, I have to do like reading orders and things like that. But make sure you vote for the books that you want reprinted. Speaking of, voted at number 2 is the Tomb of Dracula coming back to print. There are some books that I regret selling. I didn't want to, but I was like, I can't find a volume. What was it, volume 2 or 3? I had a volume 1 and 3. I couldn't find a 2. That's what happened. They reprinted 1. They didn't reprint 2, and I had a 3. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to get these in complete collections. I don't have to have them. But Peter, I don't know if you agree with me. I know the content is wrong in this one because this is Tomb of Dracula, not Thor. But the mapping in this one is different than the Masterworks. And people have asked, are they going to use the Masterwork files? I don't think so. I mean, I don't know, and I don't have the originals to compare it to. But just because the mapping is the same as the original printing or the contents makes me think that they're going to use the original printing scans. So it's collecting Tomb of Dracula 1 through 31, Werewolf by Night 15, Giant Size Chillers number 1, and then Giant Size Dracula 2 through 4. Parental advisory for those black and white issues, 784 pages. Yeah, excited for this one.
This is one of my favorite omnibuses of all time. It's also one of the top viewed videos on my channel of me unpacking it when I first moved to New Zealand, because I just talk about how much I love Tomb of Dracula. To Omar's point, the Marvel Masterworks for this, since the Masterworks came out after the omnibuses, they don't map exactly to the mapping of these omnibuses. So this is not it does cover all the materials from Masterworks 1 through 3. It's not truly a replacement for the Masterworks 1 through 3, because Masterworks 1 through 3 also incorporates some material from Dracula Lives magazine, which is all in Tomb of Dracula Omnibus Volume 3. But this is basically half of the Tomb of Dracula ongoing series is in this, and then half of it's in volume 2, and then volume 3 is just all of his magazine material.
This came out, this is its third printing. Sylvia giving her address. She's on Saturday and Sunday, and describing herself, and she needs D badly. She needs that Tomb of Dracula, baby. Well, unfortunately, Sylvia, it doesn't come out until September, so you're gonna have to wait a little longer to get that D. All right, we're moving on. Blah, blah, blah. I don't blog. Wait, what's happening? Who said blah, blah, blah? I still have my Dracula Essentials for that black and white art. Oh, dude, yeah, some gorgeous freaking artwork in there, man, by Gene Colan. Man. All right. Hey, wait. Before you go, Sylvie, don't forget to hit that like button before you go. If you're going to bot my chat, you might as well freaking hit that like button. Doctor Strange by Jed McKay. Omnibus, collecting Death of Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, Strange 1 through 10, and Doctor Strange 1 through 18. This was voted pretty well. It was voted in the top 100.
Which is wild because the run was still ongoing while the poll came out. And we very rarely put current runs on it, but we had heard so much noise of like, am I going to get the vote on Doctor Strange by McKay? We're like, I guess we're going to put it on the poll, because I'll tell you this, we do not go through every ongoing series and try to fit them into the poll. That is not a thing that we do. And it was in the top 100. It just missed being featured in the countdown. The big objection that everybody has, including me, to this is that it should include all of the Death of Doctor Strange one-shots, even the ones that are not written by Jed McKay. It's only a few more issues, and they're not going to get collected anywhere else. So I think we're delusional if we think Marvel's going to find homes for them all.
All right, what are the one-shots? I'll ask again. I think I have asked about them, but
I am sure, because this has been going back and forth on this ever since you announced it.
Well, I need to know the name so I can ask them again.
All right, give me a moment. Doctor Strange.
I think it's is it Miles Morales, one of them? Spider-Man? If somebody has it handy, please.
So Death of Doctor Strange included an Avengers one-shot, a White Fox one-shot, a Blade one-shot, an X-Men / Black Knight one-shot, a Bloodstone one-shot, and Strange Academy presents The Death of Doctor Strange. So that is pretty much the
What is
full
after
Strange Academy.
X-Men Black Knight. What was the other one?
Bloodstone and then Strange Academy.
Strange Academy is not collected in the Strange Academy Omnibus either, right?
No. So this is almost the entire contents of a 2022 paperback called The Death of Doctor Strange Companion, except for the Spider-Man one-shot is already included in this map because it is by Jed McKay.
I think because it's not by Jed McKay, they're going to say no. But I can always ask.
And that was 232 pages in total, that paperback. So we're talking about adding 200 pages to the omnibus, which I think is why we're not getting what we want, potentially.
Yes. Bat is in here. But Bat was in Donny Cates' run first.
Yeah.
Thank you, comics. I appreciate that. Black and Bloodstone. Okay. Presents The Death of Doctor Strange. I will ask, only to be told no. I'm pretty sure because they're going to say it's not written by Jed McKay. They've done that in the past. Okay. X-Men Blue and Gold voted at number 1 because Bishop's Crossing and Executioner's Song. This is what they decided to do. Much like what they did with Extinction Agenda, they decided to make it a new omnibus, call it Blue and Gold Mutant Genesis, collecting Adjectiveless X-Men 1 through 16, annual number 1, Uncanny X-Men 281 to 297, annual 16, Ghost Rider 26 and 27, X-Factor 84 to 86, X-Force 16 through 18, Strike Files number 1, material from X-Factor annual 7, X-Force annual 1, Marvel Comics presents 89, and X-Men Odd Men Out, which that is the odd comic out of the whole bunch. Peter and I had a 2-hour stream talking about the different mappings, and it was a blast. I love talking this stuff with my friend and everybody that joined in. They are giving you options. Do you wait around for the X-Men Chris Claremont and Jim Lee Omnibus Volume 2? It is up to you. Or do you get the books that you want now in a different mapping? It is up to you. You are getting options. I'll be honest with you, I don't know how I would feel about getting these options. I think I'd be overwhelmed. I need somebody like Peter and Omar to tell me what to buy. That's what I would need. But that's a different Patreon tier. I don't like Clea. Will I like the Strange Omnibus?
No.
You will not like 10 issues.
Like at least half of it.
You won't like 10 issues. And she's a big part of the second part of the second series. So probably not Nick.
But I will say this, Clea, I don't think she's been used as like a fully round character for decades. I think McKay like really digs into what is her actual personality? What is her background? What is her motivation? How does she connect to this other dimension that she's from? It's the most fun I've ever had with Clea. I think before then I would have been like, no, because I don't think anybody's used her particularly well since like Roger Stern. So that's my extended answer.
I'm feeling overwhelmed with all the options. Just gonna wait for the dust and options to settle. And I'll be honest, all kidding aside, you have every right to feel like that. There's a lot of, and these aren't cheap books, right? We're talking $125, $150 books. So think about it, right? Don't just jump in because you're like, you see a pretty Jim Lee cover from Shattershot. It is a very pretty Jim Lee cover.
One of my favorites.
Yeah.
But that other cover was my first X-Men comic book ever.
So you know which one you're gonna have to get. That Cosmic X-Men.
I will say just before I know, because there's another big topic we're about to hit.
Okay.
And then another big topic.
Oh my God.
I will say this. Like, let's just take a moment and appreciate X-Men are big enough and they're back enough in Marvel's good graces that we literally have 2 different omnibus lines to choose from here. We have all of the epics, and this is epic mapped, which you can go back to that 2-hour video and see me just explain it issue by issue. But like, that's how big the X-Men are now. Think about what it was like 6 or 7 years ago, where it felt like X-Men collections were starting to dry up and Marvel didn't care because it was before the Fox changeover into MCU. Like, this is possible now because we're getting acknowledgement. X-Men is a big seller. We have X-Men 97. All of this exists in an ecosystem together. So I know the mapping is confusing. I know it can be overwhelming and sometimes frustrating because it's not the reprint you exactly wanted. But let's just appreciate that the X-Men are back and popular enough that they are sporting basically 2 different lines of omnibuses of the same material.
Oh man, yeah. We had a blast in that stream just explaining the different formats and the different events and things. How's my buddy Super Laugh Hard doing? Is there anything in this omnibus that isn't in the X-Men epics?
Oh Jesus, I'd have to go look at my map.
I think mostly it is Marvel Comics Presents 89. Definitely X-Men Odd Man Out, because that wasn't written until years later. Ghost Rider is X Factor. No, I don't think so. Peter can double check, but I think everything else has been printed. The question is, will it be printed in the reading order that the epics do it in? Because the epic, I swear to God, it's like they cloned me and I mapped the epics. Mwah! Oh, I love the mapping of the epics. I hope they do the same thing here too. Love X-Men, hate the X-Tax. Well, yeah.
Here's the answer I'll give to that. Does it have stuff that's missing in the epics? First of all, Omar was 100% right. The other thing,
clip that, James. Go ahead.
The other thing to remember, though, is that unlike a book that collects exact masterworks, this does not collect exact epics. So it has some stuff from Epic Volume 19, then it has all of Epic Volume 20, all of Epic Volume 21, and then it has an issue from Epic Volume 22. So it's not, to answer one question, it's all this is absolutely collected in Epic, except for the 2 issues that Omar mentioned, the MCP issue and Odd Man Out. But does it completely marry up to Epic's front to back? No odds and ends? No, it crosses over a little bit into some other epics. You can't just wholesale replace 2 epics on your shelf with this. It goes a little bit further than those 2.
And this is a really good question from William. If I have Claremont Lee Volume 1 and 2, do I need this or pretend it isn't there? You need this if you need Bishop's Crossing and you need Executioner's Song. That's what this is. That's what they turned that into. So if you don't have those, I mean, if you don't care, of course, you don't have to get them. Like if you don't care about Bishop or you don't care about the Executioner Song, then you don't have to worry about getting this, right? This is mainly for people that missed out on Bishop's Crossing and Executioner Song in oversized hardcover format. And I let them vote it out or vote for what OHC they should bring back as an omnibus. It's kind of I don't know if I've opened up Pandora's box with that or not with these latest 2 books, though. I don't know. Somebody was asking about the X-Men Odd Man Out, what it is. What it is a one-shot. I think it was Uncle Raj that wrote the stories. It came out 2006, 2007, 2008, something like that. I can't remember. And it's a retro series, like taking place during this time. They've done something similar with Peter David's X Factor, which hasn't come out yet. But this is the first time we've seen it in an X-Men comic, right, Peter?
Yeah, this idea of pulling in slightly more modern stuff. Well,
Dave Cockrum did the artwork. That's the most important thing.
We also saw it with War Children and the New Mutants.
You're right. Yeah. So I hope that answers that question. Hi, Omar. The MM already listed in Amazon. Any video soon? The MM. No, I was I was asked not to do a separate Marvel Masterworks video, just to announce them as the on the solicitations, which we'll have this Thursday at 2 p.m. I just got them while we're doing this video. For Marvel. I have to take one book out of there because it hasn't been officially announced, and somebody else is announcing it, like another team. Will you add another? Oh, that's the thing. I don't know. Maybe I'll take a poll on Patreon to see if I should or not. Moonin, how you doing, buddy? All right. Oddfell. Should we call Oddfell? Phoenix, the death and rebirth of Jean Grey Omnibus. Collecting new X-Men 128, 139, and 141, and 146 and 154. X-Men Phoenix End Song 1 through 5, War Song 1 through 5, Avengers versus X-Men 0 through 12, Jean Grey 1 through 11, Generations Phoenix, and Jean Grey Phoenix Resurrection, The Return of Jean Grey 1 through 5, and material from Point 1. So, when I announced the first omnibus, I, like a lot of people, because that first omnibus was just a rebranding of something they released in the past, right? It was just a rebranding of the Dark Phoenix omnibus. I remember thinking, who's going to buy this? And then I went on Twitter, and Twitter was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, it's my favorite character getting an omnibus. I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's who's going to buy it. People that don't buy every single X-Men omnibus. So even if you have every single X-Men omnibus from this list, what's never been collected in omnibus format is Phoenix Endsong, War Song, Jean Grey 1 through 11, Phoenix and Jean Grey Resurrection, and the Return of Jean Grey 1 through 5. And yeah, even that material from point 1 is collected in the AVX. But everything else, New X-Men, of course, has been collected, and AVX has been collected in omnibus format. I did try to get Red added to it, and they said no. Whether they gave me a reason or not, I don't know. But they did say no, and that's all I can say. So Peter and I actually had a discussion about this when I announced it, because he was like, I'm good with AVX. I'm like, no, take out AVX and put in X-Men Red. But now I want to hear his thoughts. We talked about it through text. We never really heard each other out. Why do you think AVX is important here?
Well, from a mapping perspective, it frustrates me because to see a whole event replicated in this, but the intent of this omnibus line, this Jean Grey omnibus line, crazy thing to say in the year of our Lord 2025, is that it's about the full experience of the Phoenix Force, right? Which is why the second volume doesn't really have a ton of Jean. It's got a lot of Rachel in it. And so if we're tracking the Phoenix Force, this begins with it leaving, because at the end of Grant Morrison's new X-Men run and that kind of future arc there, then we see it kind of tease coming back in the present in Phoenix Endsong and X-Men War Song, which, if you want to know where they're placed, they're pretty much act break series in the middle of Astonishing X-Men by Joss Whedon and John Cassaday, because it was so slow to come out. They had time to stuff in 2 miniseries with the Astonishing X-Men team into that period. I've always wanted to see it in an Astonishing X-Men companion. But then the next time we really see the Phoenix Force, it turns up kind of as a head fake in an issue or 2 of Matt Fraction's Uncanny X-Men, which aren't here. But then the next place it really evolves and changes is Avengers versus X-Men. And then Jean Grey comes back, and of course we can follow her in Bendis's All New X-Men omnibus, but then she gets her own series here, which kind of leads into the Return of the Phoenix. And this takes our Phoenix Force pretty much all the way up to Jean's return, and Jean coming to an agreement with the Phoenix Force that they're going to just have some time apart, but they're on a break right now, which sets up the Phoenix Force to be used in Jason Aaron's Avengers, which happens after all of this. So this is really the reason it makes sense here is because you left out AVX, you wouldn't really have a sense of like where had the Phoenix Force been? Why is it not on Earth right now? What is the history that other characters, including Emma, have now had with the Phoenix Force, which comes into play during that Jean Grey 2017 series?
Okay, so now I agree. But not because of you going on for 5 minutes. Because Electric City, you say, AVX is a Phoenix story, X-Men Red isn't. No, I'm kidding. You explained it. I get it, right? If I was getting this just to follow a character, and if I'm following the Phoenix Force, then yes, I would need that stupid AVX story. God, I hate that book. Why is it the same art term cover? Oh, Omnibus. It's not. It's not. Where is it? It's right here.
Here we go.
All right. This is the art germ cover they used for Volume 2. Right? This is the cover they used for Volume 2. That is the cover they're using for Volume 3. So if you want a Phoenix, Dark Phoenix by Art Germ, there you go. So it is a different cover.
It's wild to me that neither of these covers are from any of the comics in this book.
I actually asked the same question. Yeah. I wasn't given I wasn't given an answer. I think that's what they're going for, though. Like, I just wanted to make them aware that is the exact same cover that they used for the. I think this was the standard. No, this was the direct market, right, Peter? I can't remember. No. The classic is always the direct market.
Yeah.
All right, baby. X-Men: Age of KRAKOA voted as number 6 in the Marvel Most Wanted Omnibus poll, collecting X-Men 1 through 7, X-Force 1 through 8, Marauders 1 through 8, Excalibur 1 through 8, Fallen Angels 1 through 6, New Mutants 1 through 7, Wolverine 1A 2 through 3, and Giant Size X-Men Jean Grey and Emma Frost. Our very first Dawn of X Omnibus. That's the same cover, Peter. The Russell Donnerman, is that the same cover as the Hickman Omnibus?
You know, I never know what covers
Oh
are.
my gosh. I know this isn't Marvel related, but please tell me Usagi Yojimbo Saga will get a second print. The trade paperback, yes. The hardcover, probably not, my friend. It is. Okay, I will remind him of that. Again, I think I did already. That's why I was asking. Let me see.
No, the X-Men, the mass market cover for X-Men by Jonathan Hickman, I think is like, it's like got Corsair and Gladiator, and it's got Havoc. It's a different cover.
It's not that one. Okay, I thought it was.
But I don't know what the DM cover was. I'm trying to find it on previews real quick.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know that the Lionel looks the same. The Lionel Francis Yu. What is the book that you were?
Yes, the DM cover of Hickman Omnibus, at least on previews, is the same as this DM cover. Matt Gorish just got there in the chat 2 seconds before me, and so did Hobbs.
Thank you. Okay, incoming. I think what was it? The pages that you all needed added. Can somebody please remind me, Peter? What would you have added to this?
I don't think I'd add anything to this one. I think I'm very curious to see what goes in volume 2. Incoming, but incoming is from 2017.
I may be saying the wrong thing.
You might be thinking of the page from Marvel Comics 1000, which does have Apocalypse, and it teases his 4 new horsemen that'll be part of X of Swords. Even though it came out around this time, it just feels like maybe it would work better in volume 2 because it's relevant to X of Swords instead of relevant to this material. So it's kind of like, it's kind of one of these reading order versus publishing order things. But it's just one page. Yeah. And it is by Hickman.
Oh my gosh. I think it is incoming. That's what I've seen a lot of people asking for. And I was hoping all those people would be here today watching. As it turns out, they are not.
Let's see. All right. Incoming was from December 2019, so it certainly goes into this period. Let's take a look.
I think it was, and it's only like one page, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Sinister's more relevant. I don't know why I remembered Longshot. Omar, is this the book I need if I'd ever read anything from the KRAKOA era? Oh, this is, yeah, man. This isn't, well, no, you need House and Powers of X. That's what you need. And then you need this. This is some good stuff. Really good stuff in here. I really like the X-Men. I really like Marauders. I hated Fallen Angels. I've never liked any Fallen Angels, whether it's the classic Mary Jo Duffy Fallen Angels or who wrote this Fallen Angels? I can't even tell you.
Is it Brian Edward Hill?
Sure.
Sorry, I'm still reading Incoming. I only have so many brain cells, Omar.
You can't multitask? Okay, 1 page for Apocalypse, 4 for Sinister, Longshot. Is that in the Incoming? X-Men versus FF would belong in a volume 2.
Yeah, that's volume 2.
Yeah. I thought the same thing, Hobbs.
Okay, so there is a page of Bar Sinister in Incoming that has Sinister watching a news report about refugees coming to KRAKOA. And then, as the chat just mentioned, he goes and grabs Longshot and he talks to Mojo briefly. And then we see him sitting in Bar Sinister and kind of plotting. So it's 4 total pages. Here's the thing, though. It ends with him scrolling through all of these mutant powers that he wants to catalog. And he's going, got it already. Got it. And then the last one he gets to is Franklin Richards. And he says, need it. And so that makes me think maybe it would do better in the next volume as preview pages to the X-Men.
Oh, the X-Men FF.
But everybody is right. Trevor Boyd, you nailed it. Everybody is right. It came out in this period because this has issues that were released from like September of 2019 to March of 2020-ish. Don't quote me on that. So it did come out in this release period. Whew. All right.
Thank you, buddy. If you get House and Powers of X oversized hardcover and this, it will include everything in chronological reading order until they release a volume 2. So that answers your question. I can't read sarcasm through text. 4 pages from the plot line that goes nowhere. Yeah, we needed that.
Well,
I
think
don't
the
know
big
if
challenge
Jesse's
with
like,
this-
yeah, we needed that, or yeah, we needed that.
I think the big challenge here is it's hard for us to know. It's hard to make a really great comment about this mapping until we see the mapping of volume 2.
Yeah.
Because if the mapping of volume 2 has that those incoming pages, has that page of Marvel Comics 1000, has X-Men through with FF, which by the way was not in the anthology trade, so it is not guaranteed that it's going to be in volume 2, and has the Juggernaut miniseries, again, not in the anthology trades, not guaranteed to be in volume 2. Then we'll know how comprehensive this line is going to be. If volume 2 just parrots back the contents of the anthologies, personally, for me, pour moi, personally, I don't care, because we've already had this collected in this way and it's unimpressive to me. If this adds in X-Men and FF and Juggernaut and maybe the incoming pages and maybe Marvel Comics 1000, then we got a ball game, because now we're talking about them going back and kind of writing past collecting wrongs. So unfortunately, there's really just not enough information from this volume 1, which kills me, because I want to pre-order it and lock in my copy, but I will not buy this book until I see the contents of volume 2.
You will buy this.
That's what you should do.
Buy. This is why I'm gonna tell you to buy it. Just like you do with Jess. You need this book, Jess. I'm gonna do the same thing with you. Will the X of Swords be reprinted? We don't know yet, because they could include X of Swords in the reading, like one of these Omnis, or remap the whole thing and call it X-Men Age of Krakoa X of Swords and put in other issues in there. So we don't know. We don't know yet. Ryan Wilson's a big fan of From the Ashes era over Krakoa.
Somebody must be.
Yeah, I think he's
They
the
sell
only
books.
person that
Ryan and I go back and forth every week on my post show, and I'm very happy to see his little Queequeg dog.
Nobody's happy to see Ryan. That doesn't.
No, I look forward to that little dog, and we established I don't know dog breed names. I only know the names of dogs from TV shows. So it's Queequeg from X-Files. That's how I identify Ryan.
That doesn't sound like Sinister at all. Is that actually what he said? Oh yeah, Sinister. Keep in mind, Sinister
sassy.
Yeah, Sinister's been the sassy Sinister since Gillen's Uncanny run. How many Omnis? They have said 10 to 11 Omnis is what they told me. Whether they do it or not is up to the buyers. Death of Captain Marvel Omnibus coming out 10/25, collecting the rest of the classic Captain Marvel era, 34 to 62, Marvel Spotlight 1 through 4 and 8, Avengers Annual 7, Marvel 2 and 1, Annual 2, Marvel Graphic Novel number 1, which of course is the title of this book, material for Marvel Superheroes 3, What If 17, What If number 14. This was voted in our top 200. Yeah, so those are both of the covers right there. You have the direct market and standard edition cover. Nitro. Yeah, the guy that cost all of Civil War. Thanks a lot, Nitro.
Yeah, he's really on the list of really terrible Marvel bad guys. He's really pretty far up there. So look, this is clearly already been collected in Marvel Masterworks. I've got it on my shelf right up there.
Mm-hmm.
But Captain Marvel does not have an epic line to my recollection, does he? Am I forgetting?
No, he does not.
He doesn't.
Masterworks, yes.
And the Masterworks have been out of print for a while. So this is the whole back half of the Masterworks. This pretty much completes this character. A lot of people are like, well, what about flashback, series? What about Captain Marvel Legacy? That we're talking about classic material. If you're talking about classic material, when you get to Marvel Graphic Novel number 1, that is the end of the Captain Marvel story. So this completes a beautiful 2-volume shelf set of Captain Marvel for you.
Omar, do you think you can get them to put a volume 2 on the spines of this and other volume 2 on these, which they aren't calling a volume 2 or whatever volume? Probably not. Maybe at most, maybe in the back, but probably not on the spine. Omni. Hell yes. I love an Omni with a positive title. I mean, yeah, they kind of spoil what happens, huh? That's not Billy Omar. Look at that. Well, you know what? Billy ain't Captain Marvel either anymore. He's some dude named Shazam, I think. Or the cap. No, I think he's just the captain these days, which is dumb. Ghost Rider Danny Ketch Omnibus Volume 2, collecting Ghost Rider 25 through 40, Ghost Rider Blaze Spirits of Vengeance 1 through 13, Morbius the Living Vampire 1 and 12, Darkhold pages from the Book of Sins 1 and 11, Night Stalkers 1 and 10, Ghost Rider Captain America Fear, X-Men 9, Web of Spider-Man 95 and 96, Midnight Suns Unlimited 3, and material from Marvel Comics Presents 119 to 130, Midnight Suns Unlimited 1 and 2, and Marvel Holiday Special number 3. Hell to the yes. More Danny Ketch, baby. I'm there. Oh, I love this stuff. I just read Siege of Darkness, which has never been collected in any format except for 2 issues of Doctor Strange. This, of course, precedes it. So, yeah, there's the Adam Kubert, inked by his dad, Joe Kubert, and then, of course, Jim Lee. I do think that's Scott Williams inking it. Yeah, it is. There's a signature.
So this, again, remember my metric from earlier. Has it ever been collected? That's my first question. This has tons of material that has never been collected before. This is not covered yet by Epix because Epix jumped right to from volume 1 to volume 6, which is after this omnibus. And the Danny Ketch Classic collections, there are only 2 volumes of, and they only collected through issue 18. So there were some trades that had some of this material, primarily a trade called Spirits of Vengeance, Rise of the Midnight Suns, that had Ghost Rider 28 and 31 and the first 6 issues of Spirits of Vengeance. But that's from 2016. And again, it skipped issues of Ghost Rider. So the vast majority of these Ghost Rider issues have never been collected before in color, and half of the Spirits of Vengeance issues have never been collected before in color.
I'm excited. I love this stuff, and I think the X-Men stuff, the crossover, has been, of course, collected in an omnibus format. It's got the web of what is that crossover? The Spirits of Venom, which I still love. That I wish they would use that cover to the Web of Spider-Man. It's by Adam Kubert. Oh, it's such a good cover. But anyway, yes, very excited for this one. And Shield, Hickman and Weaver Omnibus, collecting Shield 1 through 6, and the director's cut, Shield 1 through 4, Shield by Hickman and Weaver 5 and 6, and Shield Infinity. This has been collected in 2 oversized hardcover formats in the past. I think I think they're both out of print, but one is easier to find than the other. And now in one place in omnibus format.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I think those of us who were there for this kind of remember it as like it was fun, and then it wasn't as big as it was cracked up to be in a similar way that his Gods was last year, but it's still Hickman and there's still demand, and it was fun, and it did insert a lot of interesting history into Shield, which no one ever really referenced after this. And it was in the top 100 last year. Like, people want it. I think a lot of times people look at some of these books and say, who wants that? I can tell you, we're going to hit a couple on the stream that like really nobody voted for in the poll, but people want this. There are a good number of people out there who want this because they have a complete Hickman shelf and they are dedicated.
It's good. I think at the time when I was reading it, it was not as good as the other stuff that he was writing, but I do appreciate what he was doing. I like the route that he went, when there's secret societies and all that. I do look forward to reading it again. And some of the things, some of the things are present in the Secret Warriors Omnibus and Fantastic Four by Hickman Omnibus. I don't think you see anything in X-Men, do you? None of the stuff in here?
I don't think so.
The Architect stuff? Yes, it will be a thin omnibus. It will be 12 issues, right? Well, the Infinity
and some of them are oversized. So it's how many pages is it?
I don't know if it's I don't know if it's in the catalog or not. Let me double check. It is in the catalog. It is 384 pages.
Oh, that's a little baby.
Let's see. Compared to Secret War, which just recently came out. Both of them are $75, by the way. Secret War is $376. What did I say it was? $384?
Yeah.
It's a little bigger. And of course, bigger than Planet of the Apes. And the tiniest of all, Devil Dinosaur. She-Hulk by Rainbow Rowell Omnibus. Collecting issues of She-Hulk 1 through 15, Sensational She-Hulk 1 through 10. I think this is something that me, you, and Jess really enjoy. I think everybody on that panel that had read it really enjoyed it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anybody who read this going into it with an open mind of like, hey, this might be a fun She-Hulk book, and came away disappointed. It's a little slice of lifey, but she still has fights. There's still plots, but it's very much about her just getting back to her normal life, and Jack of Hearts coming back from space and trying to like decide if he wants the Avengers to know he's alive again. And Rainbow Rowell does, I think people don't give her enough credit for really digging into Marvel history and having like fun little nuggets. She-Hulk is a fight club here with Titania and Volcana, I want to say their two names are the two female villains that come out of the original Secret Wars, and that's very funny. It just really has a very in-depth look at all of She-Hulk's relationships, both with friends and lovers and enemies as well. It has her with Hellcat, it has her being friends with Wasp. It really, really leans into her personal relationships. I think it's truly my favorite She-Hulk run.
Really? I still have a soft spot in my heart for John Byrne's run, but this one's good. I liked it. It feels a lot different than all the other books that were coming out at Marvel Comics. That's for sure. Rowell She-Hulk stuff from Marvel Comics 1000 and Who is She-Hulk Infinity comic. Oh, you want me to ask to add that? Wow, way to get my attention.
You beat me to it because I actually looked stuff up for this before the stream. I don't know if they would include stuff from the Who is She-Hulk Infinity comic, but I do think the Marvel Comics 1000.
Is it the Infinity comic, the web comic, that stuff that they do exclusively?
Yeah, they did these little like who is, which sometimes are written by the actual series author, but they were just like a handful of panels to recap their history. It's not like they were it wasn't like they were full narrative issues. It was almost like saga of, you know?
Okay, so one page. I mean, I can ask. I don't know.
But I think what's significant, more so than Rainbow Rowell writing that issue, is that the interior, I'm trying to bring it up on Marvel Unlimited. The interior pencilist Iguara is, I believe, one of the pencilers on this omnibus. So it would feel like a piece with this omnibus. It's a nice little primer. Comic? I mean, we're talking like...
You're talking about the Infinity comic?
Yeah, we're talking like 5 pages worth of content. It's not like it's a big ad.
I can always ask. Yes. Okay. Is this the first Peach Momoko variant on an omnibus? I believe so. I want to say yes. This is the run after the Aaron Avengers stuff. This is the run that was taking place during the Avengers by Jason Aaron, and then afterwards. So yes, and a little bit of no. Marvel Swimsuit Illustrated Gallery Edition. One day. One day. And Star Wars Legends, The Old Republic, Volume 2. Volume 1 just came back to print. This is collecting the Old Republic from 2010, 1 through 6. The Lost Sons, Lost Tribe of the Sith, Knight Errant Deluge, Knight Errant Escape, Jedi versus Sith, material from Marvel Star Wars Tales 16 through 17, and 24, and then Star Wars Visionaries. At this point, I want to say not a lot left to collect from Star Wars, right? The Dark Horse era. We need Clone Wars and a few others, like not Tales of the Jedi, but the Legacies, right? I just learned we're having a second kid today during this stream. It's too early to tell the family, so sharing it with my mentees. Thanks for all you do. Wow, congratulations, Mike. That's awesome.
Breaking news. Put on the suit jacket, Omar. We've got breaking news. New omnibus to come.
I believe it or not, I don't keep any of my suits down in the basement. They're all upstairs. I'm an idiot. I should be prepared for these moments. Dude, congratulations to you and your family, man. That's awesome. 2 little ones. X-Men by Jerry Duggan Omnibus. Collecting X-Men 1 through 34, Annual 1, Planet Size X-Men 1, X-Men Hellfire Gala 1, and Hellfire Gala 1 from 2023, and X-Men Unlimited X-Men Green 1 and 2. Peter, correct me if I'm wrong. X-Men Green have not been collected, right? Those 2 issues in trades?
They were in a physical single issue, but I don't think they've ever been in a trade.
Okay.
And they, in turn, collected some storylines, not all of the X-Men Green storyline, from Marvel X-Men Unlimited Infinity Comics. So this kind of establishes the precedent that if we want to see Infinity comic material in omnibuses, it's got to go through a physical single issue first, which like they just did with the new Infinity Comics in the From the Ashes era, because there was one story that was really important to Professor Xavier in X-Manhunt. And so they put that in from the digital comic into a physical comic, which I think will make it be eligible to be collected in the future. This is everything you could want of Duggan. You know, he kind of takes the baton from Hickman and Planet Size X-Men, which actually, if I'm remembering correctly, would come first here. Then comes his run on X-Men, which kind of spins out of that Planet Size X-Men, because that was Hickman tapping out of writing the main X-Men titles. He goes on to write Inferno. And then Duggan winds up writing both of the Hellfire galas for 2022 and 2023, which had one-shots. In 2021, the gala was across a series of single issues, and it culminated in Planet Size X-Men. So that kind of was the gala one shot from 2021. So it has Planet Size X-Men, and then the gala from 22 and the gala from 23. Some people are like, why doesn't this have X-Men 2021 number 35? Duggan wrote that, but that's really an epilogue issue to all of House of X, Fall of the House of X and Rise of the Powers of X. I agree. I think it's absolutely stupid that it's not here. It's just Marvel being butt-headed about like being that, saving that to be the capper of the whole era, but it's not here, and that's why.
The one that's
like,
collected in the Fall of House of X and Rise of Powers of X.
Yeah, but it's the last issue of the series
I'm
being
asking,
collected.
That's the same one.
Yes, it's the same one. Also known as Uncanny X-Men 700, I believe. Right?
35, right? Yes,
Yeah.
I think so. Elliot, thank you for the super chat. Omar, Tyler said in your solicitation video for Age of Krakoa would be to take out Wolverine 2 and 3 and replace it with X-Men 8 and 9. Also take the giant-sized Jean and Emma and replace it with giant-sized Nightcrawler.
So here's the thing I want to highlight from the chat, because I've been going back and forth with a few people about this in the chat. There's a continuity reason for this, and it's actually a good test of how much Marvel's paying attention. Again, we're back to talking about Dawn of X Volume 1. The way that it's ordered, there's something where the Green Lagoon, which is the bar that's in Krakoa, debuts in issues that are not in Volume 1, I want to say, but then we see it in Wolverine 2 and 3. So people who are really explicit about the reading order of Krakoa, Tyler, you know who, being probably the number one person on the internet who has a good version of that reading order. He's saying if Wolverine 2 and 3 really do appear in the Dawn of X omnibus, then technically they've gotten the reading order wrong. Which makes me nervous, because it makes me think they're just putting things in there based on how they've mapped it in the anthology trades, and they're not really thinking about the explicit reading order that Jordan White has somewhere in a PDF deep in the bowels of Marvel headquarters. So I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if I will say, if they mess up the reading order early, there's going to be a lot of crazy people like me and Tyler and Elliot Plowman who are going to check out and not buy these books. So I don't know what to advise Marvel on this. I would advise them to get it right, I guess would be my advice.
If they take out 2 and 3 and replace it with X-Men 8 and 9, then we're no longer looking at publishing order, right? Now we're looking at reading order. Because Wolverine 1... shoot. I need a third person for this stream, Peter, because I can't have you look this up, and I can't be looking it up.
Here's the thing, like X-Men, we don't have to look it up specifically. The whole point is that the publication order sometimes meant that arcs were coming out while developments in another arc happened at the same time. Like the order in the back of the X-Men books every month of like what came out next was not always reading order, but that's how the anthologies treated them. But every so often, one of the books would get a little ahead of one of the other books. And that's the big question in the Dawn of X omnibus line, how they're going to handle that. I mean, that's really the
quintessential question. But we're back to talking about Dawn of X. We clearly just need a KRAKOA map stream at some point.
Oh my god, I think we do. I don't know. Shoot. It might be too late to ask them to, like, adding a few pages. I don't think that's going to be that big of a deal. Adding them or telling them to take out 2 books and replace them with another book, or 3 books and replace them with 3 other books. I think that might be too late. I'm trying to figure out when that. There goes my brain. Okay, if Wolverine won.
I really don't think we should get that deep into it here. I think we know what the question is, and Marvel cares or they don't.
Well, I don't think maybe they're even aware.
Well, that's a Marvel HR problem.
Hold on a second. Why is it not showing me? Shit. Okay, I'll have to come back to that one. Wolverine 3 came out after the COVID break. The other issue suggests it came out before it. Omar pushing his luck. How much goodwill would Marvel? Well, I mean, they can say no. I just don't F around with covers. So sorry if y'all want covers changed, because I still get emails about this is an ugly cover. Yeah, that ship sailed a long time ago. You all messed that one up with that Thor by Jason Aaron Omnibus. All right, X-Men by Mark Guggenheim Omnibus, collecting Young X-Men 1 through 12, X-Men 18 through 22, Extinction Agenda 1 through 4, X-Men Prime #1, X-Men Gold. Nah, but not the gold issue that I wanted. Gold 1 through 36, Annual 1, X-Men Blue 13 through 15, Wedding Special #1, Days of Future Past, Doomsday 1 through 4, Manifest Destiny 3, The Beast Story, X-Men To Serve and Protect, issue #3, The Beast Story. So you have the Ken Lashley cover there on the left-hand side, and the Arthur Adams cover from the Mojo crossover on the right-hand side. So there you go. Wait, what was the Devil's Reign and Dark Web for? What was that for?
Probably the Duggan X-Men Omnibus.
Okay, I seem to remember people asking about that earlier.
So Duggan does write the X-Men Devil's Reign miniseries, which is basically just an Emma miniseries, more or less, and it happens during the run of his X-Men. I think the argument against including it is that Emma's not a star of that X-Men series at that time, so it doesn't really have any relation to what's going on in his X-Men series, but the argument for including it is it's X-Men and it's by Duggan, and it's during the period that this is happening. The Dark Web stuff, there were 2 or 3 issues of the X-Men ongoing that tied into Dark Web, so it's kind of like, well, why would you not have the Dark Web? But there's a whole Dark Web omnibus, so I'm a little bit less sensitive to that one. But I do agree that if it's presenting itself as like all of Duggan's X-Men rather than Duggan's Marauders, that Duggan's X-Men in that period is inclusive of those 2 things. Yeah.
So that's the other one I saw was Uncanny Avengers.
That's a Fall of X book.
But it's written by Duggan.
Yeah, it depends on here's the thing, like there's no winning here. I'm going to soon say that I'm not going to discuss these things anymore. I think Marvel's either going to get it right or they're not, and we're going to buy them or we're not. So I think this is people kind of putting their foot down and saying some of them want all this stuff in the Duggan omnibus so they can have a complete Duggan on their shelf. Some of the people are more concerned with the mapping of the Dawn and X. If Marvel messes up both of them, there's just going to be a group of X-Men fans who don't buy the omnibuses. Like, that's just what it's going to be.
So are you suggesting I ask or don't ask?
Well, I think people in the chat are suggesting that you bring up to Marvel that Duggan did write some other stuff during this era of him writing X-Men 2021. Yeah.
All right. I'll do what the majority ask. They can say this, yes or no. Moving on, though, to the Hoxpox. This is a reprint of House of X 1 through 6 and Powers of X 1 through 6, coming out in November. I think it might be in December, but I'm not sure. Mark Brooks and then the Pepe Larraz cover. This is the beginning of the KRAKOA era. I did ask if they could add this to the omnibus, and I was told they were going back and forth. They were like, okay, if you can't add it, then at the very least, please reprint it so people have a chance to have it in oversized format. So they did. That's the route they decided to go. And New Avengers by Brian Michael Bendis, Omnibus Volume 2, collecting New Avengers 32 to 64, Annual 2 and 3, New Avengers Illuminati 1 through 5, Secret Invasion Dark Reign 1, Free Comic Book Day 2009, Dark Reign The List Avengers 1, New Avengers Finale, Amazing Spider-Man 601, The Beast Story, and Breaking Into Comics The Marvel Way 1, The F Story. All right. The one thing, okay, I see a couple of things people have asked for this. They want Siege, and they want Secret Invasion. It could be the case that maybe later on there will be a Dark Avengers Omnibus, and there will be a Siege collected there. And there's also the case that there is a Secret Invasion Omnibus. So the Epics don't have it either. The trade paperbacks didn't have those. I don't know. They are written by Bendis, unlike Civil War, right? Civil War was not written by Bendis. It was written by Mark Miller. But is there a case? How many pages is this book? New Avengers. Is there a case to add those books? That's the thing. This one comes out in November. It has 1,224 pages. Peter, you've read this stuff. What do you think?
I have this is a really fun run. I think that it makes a lot more sense collected in this rather than pieced out with all of its individual events the way that we saw it with the Secret Invasion Omnibus. The big question of, does it need all of Secret Invasion? Does it need all of Siege? I think the Secret Invasion Omnibus already exists, so I'm a little bit less interested in getting all 8 issues of Secret Invasion in here. That said, that's where this New Avengers team is during that period. Like, they leave their own book. They're not in their own book during that period. And anytime a team leaves their own book to be in an event, and the event is written by the same author of the main book, I kind of do want it in the Omnibus. That's the same thing with Jed McKay's Avengers, where they all leave Avengers 2023 during Blood Hunt. I would want Blood Hunt and an Avengers Omnibus. Siege, I care a little bit less, because Siege is really the finale of Dark Avengers. All of the New Avengers are there, and it's important to the New Avengers, but to me, that would be in a Dark Avengers Omnibus rather than in this Omnibus. So personally, I see the argument for both. Personally, I'm a little bit more curious about maybe getting Secret Invasion in here than I am about Siege, but I could see why Marvel wouldn't, because they're like, there's already a Secret Invasion Omnibus, go pound sand. So it's an interesting debate. Nobody's wrong.
I can ask. Man, I'm getting old. I was in late middle school and early high school when this came out. Matt, you can take your ideology and shove it. That's old.
Your ideology.
I was getting
your youth ideology. Your young person.
I'm about to drop the F-bomb, man. I was getting divorced when this shit was coming out, and I needed to forget about life for a while. The Incredible Hulk Omnibus Volume 3. For the record, I'm asking for both Siege and Secret Invasion and see what they say. Incredible Hulk Volume 3, collecting Incredible Hulk 135 to 170, and Avengers 88, and Marvel Superheroes 16. I think there is no adding anything to this one. It's straight up the Masterworks, I think is what they're doing. And awesome. Another classic that we're getting in omnibus format too.
And as I answered earlier, all of this is already collected in Epic.
Also that, yes.
Yeah.
Because you were looking at Omar, give me hope. Please tell me they're going to show Hulk more Omni love. So here's your hope. There was another Hulk Omnibus, not for this batch that I was going to announce, but the last batch that we're supposed to come out now. But unfortunately, they pulled it. So there is hope. They've thought it out, and that's all I can say.
I will say Hulk has historically been a somewhat softer seller in omnibus than other solo heroes. I'm not saying none of his omnibuses sell out. There's some that are very popular, but especially for classic Hulk material, modern Hulk material sometimes really moves. But he's not the number one selling solo hero. So that's reflected in how seldom we sometimes see his omnibuses.
Yeah, it's really tough, right? Because he sells more than Iron Man because he had like some definitive runs, right? Like he had the Peter David run, there was the Immortal Hulk run, and the big events that were, you know, like that centered around the Hulk. Omar, just out of curiosity, have you ever talked or to the chief Marvel mapper? Is it Corey Sedmeyer? No, there's different people. Like every X-Men modern comics have the Corey usually deals with like the older stuff, the classic stuff, and he definitely has an eye for that stuff. Jeff York, there's a bunch of other people that do the mapping over there. Wolverine, the Return of Wolverine Omnibus, collecting Wolverines 1 through 20, Hunt for Wolverine 1, Hunt for Wolverine Weapon Lost 1 through 4, Adamantium Agenda Can't Talk, The Claws of a Killer 1 through 4, Mystery and Madripoor 1 through 4, Dead Ends #1, Return of Wolverine 1 through 4, and Infinity Watch 1 through 5. Wolverine, where is Wolverine subplot pages from the Marvel Legacy #1? Where is the Laser Claw, Hot Claws Wolverine? That's where
in here, baby.
That's where the party is at.
I will say, for me, there is actually something missing from this book. I know I've kind of said that some of this missing stuff is a matter of taste. There is a Marvel Comics Presents Wolverine story that happened right in this era, right where he came back. It was the A story of Marvel Comics Presents, I think, that started in 2018, and I really expected to see it here. It's like one of the first stories of him coming back, so it's kind of weird that it's not here. There's nowhere else you would put it.
Is that the one with his daughter?
Yeah.
Oh, it definitely is a taste.
I'm not saying it's good. I'm not passing that. None of this is good, Omar.
Excuse me? I think.
What? Tell me what you thought in this book was good.
20,
Go ahead. I'll
20
wait.
issues that were good. I like.
Oh, of Wolverines? I just reread it last night. The Art Mama is garbage.
Oh my God. We need to add Wolverine's daughter. All right, comics. Do you know offhand what issues those are in Marvel Comics Presents?
Oh, Jesus. All right. Give me a moment. Let me pray to the Lord and see if they'll supply me that. And by Lord, I mean New Zealand recording artist Lord. Let me pray to Lord and see if she'll supply me with that information.
Oh, there's a trade paperback. Just give me the trade paperback.
I'm looking it up.
Man. Look, it's Marvel Comics Presents 1 through 9. It's called The Vigil, right?
Yes. Yeah, only the A stories.
Okay. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm asking for this.
It's critically missing. It's by Charles Soule, who is the architect of a lot of this stuff. So that's what makes it so weird. And it's only 120 pages. So we're not asking for the world here.
All right. Marvel Comics Presents 1 through 9 A stories. The Vigil by Soule. Okay. Yes. And I will ask.
But for those of you asking, don't put the sniper thought on my head, David Gabriel, but this is not worth reading. You can skip this. It's easily skippable.
You're not going to know how he came back.
No, because this doesn't tell you how he came back. There's 4 issues of various X-Men wandering the earth being like, Logan might be back. Nothing happens in all 17 of those issues.
He comes back with Hot Claws.
And then he comes back with Hot Claws in a story that makes 0 sense. And then he goes to space.
He's tied into the Infinity Gems.
That's the one good 5 issues in this.
Really? That one? The one with Loki? Okay, whatever. Not anymore, baby, because I'm adding the daughters to it.
Well, now I've got to buy it, I guess.
X-Men Red Omnibus, collecting Sword 1 through 11, X-Men Red 1 through 15, 16 DA stories 17 and 18, Storm and the Brotherhood of Mutants 1 through 3, Resurrection of Magneto 1 through 4, Cable Reloaded 1, X-Men Before the Fall, Heralds of Apocalypse 1, and Marvel Voices #1. Voted, well, top 50. Woo! You all some X-Men. And 2 different covers. A classic 90s cover at that, too. That is an interesting choice for the X-Men Red. So this is towards the 3rd act of KRAKOA. 3rd act. Al Ewing is the creator behind this.
And so much like the Duggan book, this is all of Ewing and KRAKOA. I think the difference is this is a little bit more comprehensive of Ewing and KRAKOA. That Duggan book, and I think the difference between this and the Duggan book is key. The Duggan book is Duggan writing the X-Men 2021 series. It's not claiming to be all of Duggan's material. This Ewing book, even though it's called X-Men Red, actually is the opposite. It should be called X-Men by Ewing, because this is just about all of Ewing's material during KRAKOA. So the titles should actually be swapped. The other one should just be called X-Men something, X-Men the Gala Years. This one should be called X-Men by Al Ewing. So this is, if you love Al Ewing, this has got all the Al Ewing that you want. Some people are going to say it should have a couple of stories from his Guardians of the Galaxy run, which did kind of run in with Sword.
Yeah,
however,
Cable, right? Cable Reloaded definitely ties into that.
Yeah, but they were very careful to not make it a direct crossover. So the issues, like, even though you could read them in a shuffled order, they stayed very separate from each other, and so you really don't need them. But it does have Cable Reloaded in here to help the link. Yeah.
Well, I understand this with only reading Hoxpox and Hickman's run. I mean, yes, as long as you understand that this is taking place later.
I think the key you need to understand this is what Arakko is. And I'm not saying that you have to read all of X of Swords, because all of X of Swords is extraneous to what Arakko is. But if you have a vibe of what Arakko is from reading, I want to say Hickman's X-Men 2019 #2, or if you've read Planet-Sized X-Men, that's the main plot element you need coming into this. You have to understand who this separate community of mutants you've never met before are. And if you get that, all of the rest of this is very self-evident, and I think it explains it very well in here. But if you're being a stickler for reading order and you're like, what critical information am I going to be missing? You need to know what Arakko is.
And that Magneto needs to be resurrected because he wasn't feeling good.
Well, that X-Men Red explains that in its entirety.
So that about 8 new X-Men They always save X-Men Omnis for the last part of the year and the beginning. They do that. Oh my God! I think this is the one I'm most excited for.
I mean, I'm pretty excited for this.
Avengers by Jeff Johns and Olivier Coipel.
And Chuck Austin, baby.
We want this book to sell. Collecting Avengers 57 through 84, Visions 1 through 4, Thor 58, Iron Man 64, New Avengers or New Invaders #0, with spun out of the Chuck Austin run. And for the people asking me, and I've had several people ask me, Omar, are they going to include the pervy pages? The page from it's on Unlimited. There is no way I could ask. Can we get that page with Ant-Man shrinking down and like performing something on Janet? How am I even going to ask for that? No, if it's on Unlimited, we're going to take a chance and maybe. But it is funny that a lot of people email me about that one page because it's never been collected in trade paperback. That page hasn't. Okay, this for real is one of the greatest runs on Avengers. I love this run. It's so underrated. It's got great artwork, not just by Coipel, but there's also David Finch in here. Scott Collins does a lot of great artwork in here. The Gary Frank. I want to say this is the first time like Gary Frank and Ivan Hayes worked with Jeff Johns, long before they were working together at DC Comics. So that's it. And for the people asking why don't they have a cover by Coipel, I don't know if he did any covers. I can't remember off the top of my head. Because he wasn't the big name that he is now, right? Like, he wasn't the big name that he is now. Can the pervy page also be a fold-out? Oh, man. Just like, Warren, you know damn better that this is miles ahead of what your Brian Michael Bendis did to my Avengers. The last... Derek? Wait, hold on, Derek.
I can't agree with that statement.
It is good. It is good. But I can't agree with that statement because I think there are other Avengers run that are equally just as good. This one's up there though, man. The Red Dawn storyline is so good. Oh my gosh, I love it. I'm so glad they did not forget about this. This is one of my favorite type of Omnis. Now that I've been at the game, since day one, it's those gap fillers. I know it probably means nothing to a lot of people that are, have been collecting for like 5 years. What is this junk? They should be collecting other things, some big bangers like X-Man or whatever. But to me, this makes me happy. I skipped Ultimate Spider-Man 5. Did I really? That must be a sign from God.
I think we were arguing about KRAKOA stuff. We'll go back for a second. So, I always say, has this been collected before? This all was collected in original paperbacks back at the time. But when they went back to recollect the complete collections of Geoff Johns, this stopped at the end of the Geoff Johns stuff, which stops at issue number 76. So we didn't get a recollection of 77 through 84, which are in here. So it's been in print before, but it's long out of print. The same is true, I believe, for that Vision miniseries. It did have an original trade paperback, but I think it's been a long while since it's been back to print. So you could have had this. I do own it all in color, but this is some of this stuff we have not seen in print in any format for over 20 years.
The Red Dawn, I think that's what it's called, trade paperback is a trade paperback that I remember going on a bidding war because it was impossible to find. Because I was like, I gotta finish. I gotta read this story, and I can't read my volume 3 without reading volume 2. That's the one where 3 is the one with the search for She-Hulk, I think. And man, I think I paid over $50 at that time for that book.
Yeah, they were
just
pricey.
For that trade paperback. Yeah, people. I mean, I know people complain about books being out of print right now, but back then, man, it was the Wild West. You had no idea when things were going to come back to print. No, you didn't even hear about books coming back to print, really. So I'm super excited about that. This one brings back memories of coming back and returning the comics and getting to read these stories again. Like, this was the era that I missed because I wasn't collecting comics. I was taking a break from comics. This is 824 pages for whomever was asking. Warren Warren likes the crossing. I like the crossing.
So to answer 2 questions from the chat. One, yes, I do say Geoff instead of Jeff because I had a very close friend in college who says Jeff as Geoff when it says a G. So I call all Geoffs Geoff. Sorry, that's just how my brain works. But the more relevant question is, this is the thing that's fun to read about this is it's just the Avengers being Avengers team. There's no big events in this period. There's not a lot of tie-ins or crossovers except for those couple of issues of Iron Man and Thor. This is just, if you want the Avengers just kind of being the Avengers and dealing with stuff as the Avengers in a way that they did before the leather jacket era, this is very much that. I'm not comparing it in quality. I'm comparing it in tone. So if you kind of feel like, well, the Bendis stuff doesn't really have story arcs, it kind of just goes on and on and on. Or like, oh, when I read Avengers from the, modern era, it just feels like it goes from event to event. This is a period of Avengers where it's just a team of recognizable characters being Avengers. That's the log line.
And I can see Derek's point of like, this is the last great Avengers story. Because after that, it did seem like House of M, Civil War, Secret Invasion, Siege. You know what I'm saying? It felt like an event after event. Secret Wars 2015. Whereas this was kind of back to the basics. Are you going to include the X of Swords in your Omni reprint poll? I don't know. I kind of want to see what volume 2 is going to give us. All right, let's go back to but maybe I'll do what the majority wants, of course. People want everything now. Ultimate Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 5, collecting Ultimate Spider-Man 1 through 150 to 160, Ultimate Fallout 1, Ultimate Marvel Team Up 1 through 16, Ultimate Spider-Man Super Special number 1, and material from Ultimate Fallout 2, 4, and 6. So this is mapped differently than the event Omni. When I announced the death of Ultimate Spider-Man, I did say that I did ask for them to change it to a Volume 5, and they said no. They have plans for an Ultimate Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 5, and it will be mapped different. And we didn't know what the mapping was going to be, but now we know. So it looks like what they did was combine Ultimate Team Up, which happens way before this stuff, with the last part of Peter Parker as Spider-Man. I don't think it needs anything. I don't know. I feel like the ultimate what is that? Ultimate End will be collected in the Secret Wars Battle Worlds, and it kind of fits more with a Miles Morales omnibus than this, right, Peter? I know you're not the biggest fan of Ultimates, like I like.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on this is kind of separate from that. Like, I don't. It's a Spider-Man book. It's not going to have all the tie-ins. Get over it. It's in the Death of Spider-Man omnibus. I just think it's weird to have all of team up here when it's happened so much earlier than this, and I always kind of can imagine that would be the headline of like a companion omnibus that has a lot of those shorter early series that don't fit into omnibus mapping that we've seen yet, because you could kind of call it all team up and throw in, like, I don't know, like, isn't Ultimate Elektra and Daredevil one of the early ones that we've never had in an omnibus? So I kind of thought that could all get headlined under team up, but I do think it makes sense here because it's primarily Spider-Man and it's primarily by Bendis. Yeah, I think this is what it is. The death of Ultimate Spider-Man still exists. You can still go buy a copy on eBay. I'm sure they will reprint it at some point, but this is an alternate option.
Does it include the revamped Peter where the art changes to a manga style? It does. Oh, David LaFuente's artwork. Is that what you mean? It does have that Sarah Pichelli's artwork. Who else is the other artist? Is it Miyazawa that did I Love Mary, or Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane, or MJ Loves Spider-Man? No, so yes, it does have a very manga style. Bruce, thank you for the super chat. Should have Doomsday since Bendis wrote it. Would Doomsday work with this or Fantastic Four more? Peter, thoughts?
I don't know. I don't read Ultimate Universe.
You're not the biggest. My thinking is that team up is so off to the side that placing it here is the best call if it's not in volume 1. And that way you have everything by Bendis. Dude, I was thinking for some reason the Doomsday would fit better in a FF. I don't know why. I could be wrong. Not sure if this is answered. What are the odds we get Blood Hunt added to Doctor Strange? No one asked for that. You're like the first person that asked for that. Peter would ask for that.
He's gaslighting you. Don't let him gaslight you.
Oh, I'm sorry, sarcasm. I think they already said no to that one. So I'm asking for a couple of other things like the one shots, the rest of them, which I'm pretty sure that's going to be a no. But hey, we'll try it out. This is a straight reprint of Deadpool and X-Force. And before you ask, why didn't you call this Volume 2? That's where the whole conversation with Omni Volume 2 started. When I asked if there's a way to change this to X-Force Omnibus Volume 2. And they said, you know, without going into too much details about future volumes not selling as well. So they're going to stick to Deadpool and X-Force. Now, people have asked, wait a second, where are 16 through 18? That is in the X-Men Gold and Blue, because it is part of Executioner's Song. These are mapped completely different than the Epic collections. So keep that in mind. Greg Capullo cover with Ken Lashley up at the top, or a Greg Capullo cover, which is also a cover that they use for an Epic collection. Marvel Team Up, the classic, ranked at number 29, is officially coming out in omnibus format. Collecting the first 30 issues, Daredevil 103, Giant Size Superheroes 1, Giant Size Spider-Man 1 and 2. And yeah, this is one that I was asked about often. It's the last classic Spider-Man title to be released, because we've had Spectacular, we've had Web of, I've got, well, I guess Adjective isn't released, but that's not really classic. God, please no, that's in the 90s. But we do have a McFarlane one and a Eric Larson one. But yes, this is the classic era, which is too old for Warren, but Peter says finally. So there you go.
And this is exactly the first 3 Masterworks.
Oh, really? I thought it was mapped a little different. Okay, cool. Sell me on this one. I hear it's important. Is it good? What's in it?
Actually, maybe it's missing one issue from the first 3 Masterworks.
Okay.
But it's otherwise the same. Yeah.
It's a mixed bag, right? There's some really fun stories in here. There's a lot of different creators that take on Spider-Man and friend or friends. So, oh God, no, there's Spidey super stories. Oh my God, Phil. How many of those are there? Is there enough for an omnibus? I think in my Essentials Daredevil isn't included. How many team-up issues include Spider-Man and someone else?
The majority of team-up is Spider-Man in the lead. Every, like, 4 or 5 issues, I feel like it's Human Torch. But it's mostly
at the very beginning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the early team-up stuff is rough. MTU is a fun read. It's a 10 out of 10 if you like classic Spidey crossing over. Has a good Sandman Christmas story and starts Spidey making friends with the Hulk. And 57 issues. Oh my God, there is enough for a I had no idea. Spider-Man is in 140 out of the 150 Marvel team-up books. Does anybody want Blood Hunt added to that book? Kidding. Secret Wars Battle World Omnibus Volume 2. So speaking of Battle World, there'll be 4 of these. I can't believe there's that many series. When I was reading the first one, I don't think I read some of those series. Just like I don't think I've read some of these in here. This is Collecting Future Imperfect, which is in the Maestro Omnibus. Ghost Racers 1 through 4. Giant Size Little Marvel AVX 1 through 4. Guardians of Nowhere 1 through 4. That's in the Bendis Guardians of the Galaxy Omnibus, correct, Peter? And Hell Hydra 1 through 4. Hank Johnson, Agent of Hydra 1. House of M 1 through 4. That's in the Companion. Howard the Human #1, Inferno 1 through 5, Infinity Gauntlet 1 through 5, Inhumans at Adeline Rising 1 through 5, Korvac Saga 1 through 4, and MODOK Assassin 1 through 5. Can we get Secret Wars at the end of Volume 4? I don't want the time runs out double dip. I don't know. That's a question when Volume 4 is announced.
Yes, Guardians of Nowhere is in the Bendis books. Yeah,
it is. I didn't care much about Secret Wars. Macy Spider-Man, McAlina, McFarlane Omnibus reprint. Come back for the reprint poll. We're kicking that off April 14th, I believe. Let me double check. My brain
Somewhere
is all over the place right now with people asking so many different questions. Yes, April 14th, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Woo! Should have had a second breakfast. Secret Wars.
Any breakfast.
It's on everything. Let's. Can they reprint Jeff Loeb, Red Hulk, Omni? I already have been waiting years. Make sure to vote. All right, moving on to the next book. Dr. Aphra, Friends and Enemies Omnibus, which would be Dr. Aphra Volume 3. Collecting Dr. Aphra 26 through 40, Revelations #1, The Aphra Story, and Sana Staros 1 through 5. This is, yes, the Volume 3, and this made it in our top 200. Wow, people really love this character. I love this character. There is a new Dr. Aphra series. My buddy Peter, I think, tweeted about it. So maybe that's why they're doing this. Do we know who the creators are behind the new Aphra series?
We do. I don't recall them offhand. It's not somebody who's a regular Marvel creator.
Okay.
I think what's interesting about this one is it's not called Volume 3, like we've been talking about. And it also squeezes in that Sana Staros mini that was also part of her run, or like Star Staros was part of this Dr. Aphra run.
Okay.
But I also think that the thing I always say is Marvel doesn't make mistakes. Like things they put out omnibuses because characters are prominent, right? So like Dr. Aphra is having a little mini comeback. She's getting a new series later this year. It's written by Cherish Chen with art by Gabriel Guzman, and it starts in June. So this is just the way Marvel does things. It doesn't mean that they think just because there's a new Aphra series that they're going to sell a lot of an omnibus. It's just how their schedule has always worked. So whenever you see an omnibus like this that kind of feels a little out of the blue, very frequently it's reflective of something else that's happening in Marvel's publishing line. It's just reality.
All right. And Uncanny X-Men by Brian Michael Bendis Omnibus. Collecting Uncanny X-Men 1 through 14, 15 Inhumans, 16 through 35, 600. All new X-Men 16 and 17, Wolverine and the X-Men 36 and 37, Battle for the Atom 1 and 2, X-Men 5 and 6, Uncanny X-Men Annual 1, and all new X-Men Annual number 1. And Ed McGuinness and Chris Bachalo on the covers here. So this goes hand in hand with the all new X-Men. Yes, this is Warren's favorite X-Men comic, I think, or he just likes everything that Brian Michael Bendis did. So I'm very happy for you.
So now people are going to have the same question about Black Vortex here, because this also had Black Vortex issues, if I'm not mistaken. But this has all of, does it? Maybe I'm lying. This has all of Battle of the Atom in it, though. So that complete crossover is here, which means you don't have to hunt down that oversized hardcover anymore. There are some things that people have talked about suggesting fitting into this book. So one of there was an Uncanny X-Men special that was part of a trilogy of specials. It was not by Brian Bendis, so I think chances based on history of that showing up here pretty slim.
The annual or whatever it was,
that
went into Spider-Man, X-Men, and Captain America or Hulk.
And actually, no, this never did tie into Black Vortex because it was in the middle of its own storyline at that point.
Yeah, there is no Black Vortex Uncanny.
Yeah. And then the other thing that people, me included, have mentioned is that there's this OGN by Mike Carey called X-Men No More Humans that fits between Uncanny X-Men 17 and 18. That it's basically a direct sequel to Battle of the Atom. It has all the same characters as Battle of the Atom. Of course, it's by Mike Carey and it's its own OGN. Marvel has already... What's that?
What's the OGN called?
No More Humans. Marvel has already established that they are not putting in those now era OGNs in with the books that surround them. There's also a Warren Ellis OGN of Avengers called Avengers Endless Wartime. That never got collected in with like any of the Hickman Avengers material. The difference, I think, here is that the Mike Carey OGN is so specifically a sequel to a story that's in this book. A lot of people just say, oh, well, that would just be an end cap on a series of 2 or 3 Mike Carey X-Men omnibuses. That might be the case, but I'm just letting you know that it can be read here between Uncanny X-Men 17 and 18.
That's why Warren and Omar are always at war. Bendis, sorry, Omar, but in that case, I'm on Warren's side. That's okay. It's okay to be on the losing side from time to time, Carson. Warren is a fellow Kentuckian, and he really does not represent Kentucky well.
Wouldn't it be funny if Warren's just your neighbor? Like...
Oh, that would not surprise me. With some of the people I live around, it wouldn't surprise me if Warren's one of them. Oh, another one of my all-time most wanted. Man, this
yes.
Alpha Flight 30 through 70, Alpha Flight Annual 1 and 2, Avengers 272, Marvel Fanfare 28, Jim Lee cover, and a Mike Mignola cover. Artwork in here from Mike Mignola, Sal Buscema, and Jim Lee. Jim Lee's first published internal pages of Marvel Comics. Oh, man, it's so good. It's so good. Don't make it political, Omar. I only make it political once when we're talking about X-Men. Why didn't they just do an X-Men by Carrie Omni? Problem solved. There we go. Omar, will don't ask me about designs or spines, man. I have no idea, brother. I don't know if they'll match. I have no idea because that one says volume 1, right? I kept my original printing. No, I give away my original printing. The new printing also says volume 1, so I don't know. This is officially volume 2, though. This is officially volume 2.
This is really fun material. And the thing, somebody asked me on my stream yesterday, why do I get so excited for Alpha Flight? And my answer is, I love just the same reason I like the G.F. Johns of Avengers material. I like when teams just get their own status quo. They're not interrupted by a bunch of events, and we just get to see the team and the personalities in the team. And this Alpha Flight run is very much that. Bill Mantlo writes a great run. Honestly, I might like Mantlo writing Alpha Flight a little bit better than Byrne, maybe, if I can live in my truth.
There's a lot of dark things that Mantlo does.
And it only really gets interrupted one time for that one shared issue with Avengers.
Yeah.
So it's just It's a really fun. I like reading 40 issues of Unbroken Team book. To me, that is the most fun I can have reading comic books. Hand me I don't care if it's from 1970 or 1980 or 2025. If you have 40 issues of uninterrupted Team comic books, I'm probably going to like it.
James reminded me again once why I'm not the biggest fan of Bendis' Avengers. Didn't Bendis murder Alpha Flight? The Collective, my friend. The Collective. Iron Man Armor Wars Omnibus. I don't know if my buddy John is in the chat or not. Iron Man 219 to 232, 258 to 266, and Iron Man and the Armor Wars 1 through 4. This is the one out of all the freaking books I announce, besides the Pervy pages, or the Pervy page being added to the Jeff Johns Omnibus, that everybody wants something different. And I don't know what to ask for. I think at this point, splitting it up into 2 books is going to be a straight up no. I think adding, was it Cody Summers? I think is the one that's him, and a few other people said that there are issues 258.1.2.3, and please somebody out there let me know if that's what it is. So what do I ask for this?
I think if we're looking for like the complete Armor Wars experience and a one and done, I do think having those decimal point issues that later got worked on by that creative team does I think it does kind of make sense.
If only someone in the chat, John, are you? I know you. I see you. What is it? 258.1 to 2.2.3. I think those are
now. It's on a different Earth, so I think that's maybe the potential. I mean, not explicitly a different Earth, but it's one of these like legacy continuation of a series. So it's like a what if continuation of
this. But it is David Michelinie.
Right. So it's his what if, which I think counts for something.
They've added what if to creator centric books and to event books. So I think that's the one to go for. But like I said, I'll do a majority of what people want, right? Because I just
feel like for this book, it's not like this book is not professing to fill in any kind of gap. It's not saying that it's like continuous with any other book. It's really just saying, read some Armor Wars because we're going to do some Armor Wars stuff in the MCU sometime soon. So like,
they were.
Yeah. Well, so it kind of just makes sense to me that you would cram in all the Armor Wars stuff that you could. I don't know. That to me seems like an easy call.
There was a Armor Wars prequel and sequel, or there was an Iron Man Armor Wars prologue that started at 215, which is something that I've seen people ask, but they are also using the cover, right? If I'm not mistaken, to Iron Man 215. So that makes me think there was a little bit of a mistake. I don't see it in the solicits yet.
Yeah, everybody in the chat's like started at 215.
Well, that is the cover right there on the standard.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna say that. Okay, good Lord, this list is getting crazy. John, what do you think? Are you keeping an eye for John's chat? I haven't been keeping an eye on the chat yet because I'm all over the place right now. I need to.
I'm scrolling up. A lot of people are chatting at once. I don't see John.
Need an assistant for my assistant. 258.
There he is, John. I would prefer to straight up second volume of Michelinie and Leighton. That's what John.
All right, John, give me a second option. Starting at 215. All right. I think now we're adding a total of 215, 16, 17, 18, 4 issues, plus the 4 other issues. So we're asking for 8 issues to be added. We'll see. Oh, that 250 is freaking awesome, too. Second option, scrap the book. All right, Arjun. I'm asking for 215, brother. Scrap the book. Spider-Man Brand New Day, Omnibus Volume 2, Amazing Spider-Man 584 to 611, Annual 36, Spider-Man Extra 1 to See Story, and 3, Spider-Man Short Halloween One-Shot, A Chemical Romance Digital Comic, Spider-Man The Root of All Annoyance Digital Comic, Dark Reign Mr. Negative 1 through 3, Amazing Spider-Man Presents Anti-Venom New Ways to Live 1 through 3, Jackpot 1 through 3, Spider-Man Family 6 and 7, the A Stories, and Web of Spider-Man 1. There is another cover. I don't think Dom put it on the slide, but there are 3 covers. But I mean, that is the direct market cover right there, man. Even though Spider-Man's a little bit of picture in the background, but that cover of MJ with that shirt and those ripped jeans, that says New York City, man. And that old ass remote control, the all-in-one remote control we all have to try to program.
The children don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I think my kids use their phone now to like stream whatever they need online.
All right, old man Omar.
All right.
I think people are pretty excited about this because it has a perfect cutoff, if I'm recalling correctly. Like, this is exactly where it should stop. It leaves room for there being other Spider-Man books directly after this. It ends right at the end of what was the Volume 24 trade. And so it picks up with the beginning of the Gauntlet as the next issue, which is, I think, even how we mapped it on the poll. And so there's that whole chunk of the Gauntlet, which has been collected in Complete Collection, that will take us all the way up to the next period, which is Dan Slott's Big Time. So we basically have one more omnibus, maybe 2, if they really milk it, to get us from here to Big Time.
And Superior Spider-Man returns with Avenging Spider-Man 15.1, 16 through 22, Superior Spider-Man Team Up 1 through 12, Superior Spider-Man 6 AU 32 and 33, Daredevil 22, Scarlet Spider 20, All New X-Men Special Number 1, This is what I was thinking about. Indestructible Hulk Special Number 1, Superior Spider-Man Team Up Special Number 1, Inhumanity Superior Spider-Man 1, Superior Octopus 1, Superior Spider-Man, the 2018 series, all 12 issues, Superior Spider-Man Returns one-shot that led into the 2023 8-issue series, and Amazing Spider-Man 31, the Superior Spider-Man story. So shouldn't this be a volume 2? Correct. This should be we have discussed that a lot on this stream, so just hit rewind, Cyclops or Alex. Shouldn't you have a Havoc avatar? Whoa, my mind is being blown right now. Omar. The first Superior book was labeled as Volume 1. Why does Marvel hate us? Because God sees what you do when you think no one is looking beyond comics.
That was dark, Omar.
Dude,
be nice to my fellow Kiwi.
Food.
How dare you?
How long is this streaming going on? Oh my God, it's not even 3 hours.
And the viewers keep going up. People like to see our descent in the madness. See, I keep telling Omar, chime in the chat, Minties. I keep telling Omar once a year.
I don't know how you do that.
24-hour charity stream. And Omar should be forced to be on camera the entire time, even if he falls asleep at the wheel. But we'll have plenty of guests the whole time. And I think you should choose charity. And we should do a 24-hour charity stream once a year.
That may happen one day if I'm drinking and never doing any of these. It's because sales, right? Like they've mentioned it. I said it a little bit earlier about sales with volume 2s. So they just kind of rename them. I think at this point, I'm just to the point where I'm just glad that the books are coming out in any format.
I mean, the names and the spot, it's all immaterial, right? Like, are you really that interested in going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across your shelf? Or do you want the material? And
Peter, job security for us because we do reading orders. So that's okay.
That's right. Job security for Crisis.
I worked out a deal with Marvel to rename everything instead of volumes 2, 3, and 4. Just so people can be confused. They have to keep coming back to my reading orders. Ultimate X-Men Omnibus Volume 3, collecting Ultimate X-Men 75 through 100, Ultimate Wolverine versus Hulk 1 through 6, and you don't have to wait 2 years for issues. Ultimate X-Men, Ultimate Fantastic Four Annual, Ultimate Fantastic Four Ultimate X-Men Annual, Ultimatum 1 through 5, and Ultimatum X-Men Requiem 1. You will find out what paying the ultimate price is going to be when you pay for this book. I don't know. Robert Kirkman, Jeff Loeb. Yeah. Ultimate X-Men. I say, if you like Ultimate X-Men, you are going to be upset towards the end of this when your favorite character dying left and right for no reason. I'm not going to spoil who, but it definitely ends with, like, let's just get rid of a bunch of people. Voted in the top 200 on our poll, most wanted poll. Can we get Ultimatum 1 through 5 removed from this? That's a good comment. I like that one. Let's just remove Ultimate X-Men 75 through 100 and they can give me X-Men 2.5. Okay, all kidding aside, I know there are people that really love this stuff and this is nostalgia for them. So, yeah, more power to you. They're completing the whole run. There was another series after this. It was Ultimate X, and there was another Ultimate X-Men series by Brian Wood. So there is enough for a 4th volume of Ultimate X-Men before we get to the new Ultimate era by Peach Momoko. Can we replace Ultimatum with the Avengers? Pervy pages. God bless you all. Maybe add more.
We got Blood Hunt in here. There we go. Super job, my regular. You got my back. Super job.
The joke used to be X Factor 1 through 7. Is Blood Hunt going to be the new one?
But I think, all joking aside, whether or not you like Ultimatum, I think we've already had like an Ultimatum OHC years and years ago. I think this is the right place for it. Like, it's fundamentally mostly an X-Men story. It does, and so it wouldn't make sense to put it in the FF line. There's other things that I want to put in the FF line. So it kind of makes me happy. It really feels like this gives you a definitive ending, however horrific it may be, to this original period of Ultimate X-Men.
The ultimate price. That was the ad. I think that was the house ad. Like, someone's going to pay the ultimate price. It's coming in the form of Ultimatum. And at this moment, I just want to remind everybody to smash that like button. Because I love talking comics with my friends. And X Factor, the original X-Men Omnibus Volume 2. Collecting X Factor 27 through 50, X Factor Annuals 3 and 4, Exterminators 1 through 4, Uncanny X-Men 240 to 243, New Mutants 76, Fantastic Four 342, material from New Mutants Annual 5, Marvel Comics Presents 15 and 17 through 24. Both killer covers by Walter Simonson. You've got the super sexy Inferno outfits over there on the left-hand side. And you've got, man, that awesome Apocalypse fighting the High Evolutionary on the right. When I announced the book, here's the thing that I think is so cool. Or maybe I'm just alone. When I announce books, like when I say this video is sponsored by Marvel Comics, that has to get approved by a few people, including legal. They approved me literally telling people where these stories are already found in double dipping. Like, I can't imagine too many companies that are like, yeah, we're okay with you telling people where they don't need this book that they already have on their shelf. So I thought that was cool because I always worried about that. Like, whenever I was announcing books, and I'm like, but I feel like I need to let people know that these stories are already found in omnibus format in a couple of other books. So I did that with this book, for example. I said, if you have the prologue Inferno and you have Inferno Omnibus, you have a majority of the book. You have New Mutants. But in here, I think the new things are those issues 41 through 50. 41 and 42 have been collected in the Arthur Adams Marvel Omnis too. And I think that might be the new, that's all. Fantastic Four, 342 in omnibus format. That's never been collected. And of course, oh my gosh, Retribution? What's the Cyclops story called in Marvel Comics Presents?
Yeah.
Retribution? Okay. That has been, that got an old trade paperback, but yeah.
So a few years ago.
How dare you want to crop out Storm? Oh, wait, just use her. Just use her as the DM cover. I thought you wanted Havoc as if you crop her out, that leaves Havoc which Inferno Havoc has a huge fan following as well.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
saying.
you know, if a few years ago, this would have had stuff we've never had in color before, namely the run up to issue 50. Finally, now that's covered in Epic collections. But
Yes.
you know, this is still a big deal. I mean, people are like, why couldn't they've all fit into one? There's just a lot of material between 51 and 70, which makes me suspect, and we'd have to have a map my X Factor, but I suspect they're going to put all of Extinction Agenda in the next one. We'll see how it goes. But this is, you know, yeah. I don't know that those 8 issues after Inferno and after the 2 Adams issues are revolutionary enough to make me pitch you getting this omnibus if you've never
You're
read
a
this material
monster.
before.
That is the Judgment
War. You're
War.
really gonna go hard for Judgment War.
I'm sorry.
X Factor does John Carter of Mars.
I happen to be a fan of Paul Smith. I like good artwork. So.
All right, it's a story.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's the best. It is different, right? Like the original.
Hey man, they go to space. It ought to be in the Cosmic X-Men.
I like that, and it wasn't in the Cosmic X-Men Omnibus. You're right. But they go to space, and they're caught in between this planet civil war, and of course the characters are split up. There's a fill-in issue of Archangel that happens back on Earth, and then of course the big issue number 50, which is the double-size issue. Introduction of Nanny and Orphan Maker. Yeah. So, I mean, you are getting those in oversized format. I don't know which route people took. You know, people like X-Men and Event Omnis. They're going to keep that. Prologue to the Massacre, or Prelude to the Massacre. Sorry. What is it called? X-Men something to the Massacre. Mutant Massacre Prelude. Will there ever be an Inferno Aftermath that will collect some of this stuff? Probably one day. It's X-Men. So, yeah. Right, Peter? An Inferno Aftermath would collect the Judgment War stuff.
Yeah, you know, I think a lot of people see all the things we've got now, like New Mutants 3 and this, and they're like, well, would we even get Inferno Aftermath anymore? But I think Marvel has shown a willingness to kind of like keep flogging that event map line. So especially because we really could have books to kind of take us up to this. So I don't think it's impossible. I think they're going to wait for this to like sell through first before they do that. And I think we have to figure out what's going to happen with those issues at the end of New Mutants, which really kind of feel a little abandoned right now. And I always thought that they would be collected along with Extinction Agenda. So I guess we're just going to have to see. But I think it'll happen one day. I think it'll come there one day.
Edu, let me tell you when the announcement of the Aftermath is going to happen. You're going to go home one day after a hard day at work or school. I don't know what your age is. You're going to come home and you're going to have a bad day, but you're going to have this box waiting for you at home on your porch. You're going to open it up, and in there is going to be X Factor Original X-Men Omnibus Volume 2. And you're going to be so excited. Then you're going to be like, man, I can't wait to share that with Omar. And you go to Near Mint Condition, I have breaking news. And guess what? I'm going to be announcement. Like, that announcement will be the Aftermath of it. Because that's the way these things. You're a doctor, damn it. I'm sorry, Edu. I have no idea. Your profile pic shows me you drinking maybe tea or coffee. It's really hard to tell. But anyway, that's how it happens. That's how it happens, my friend. Numbers are scary. Volume 2, I is afraid. John, you got 3 volumes of Iron Man. Don't jinx it.
Yeah, why did they call this Volume 2? Why isn't it called like X Factor?
Because X-Men,
Inferno or
X-Men sell well enough. They can call it.
All right, we'll see.
All right, so Peter, take us through these numbers. What is this nonsense you're writing here?
So we're into poll season, which for me is the most wonderful time of the year here on Near Mint Condition. And a lot of you are voters in the omnibus polls because you have a lot of opinions about this. So since this was mostly new books and not reprint books, I thought I would take a look at the data from last year's poll. And I have access to the backstage, so I can see what's in the 100, the top 200. So out of the top 10 of last year's Marvel Omnibus Tiger Eyes poll, we've got 4 of the books in the top 10
That's
already
really
printed.
damn good.
And that's not just, some of them were announced for like earlier in the year, so not all of them are necessarily represented here. Those 4 books were Daredevil by Ann Nesenti Volume 1, which we already have announced prior to this. Spectacular Spider-Man, right. Spectacular Spider-Man by J.M. DeMatteis. which happened before this. That was number 2. Number 3 was Amazing Spider-Man Volume 6. That was already announced. And then in this set of announcements, we have X-Men Age of KRAKOA, Dawn of X. So we had 4 from the top 10. The next highest ranked book that we don't have yet is Moon Knight, the whole like interstitial Moon Knight period between the end of Houston Moon Knight. Yeah, the modern Moon Knight. But now if we look at the top 60, which is what we actually announce on the Omnibus reprint stream, of the top 60, we have 15. So fully 1/4 of the most demanded omnibuses from last year have been announced by Marvel. And just to run down, we got an Executioner Song Omnibus, kind of, which is X-Men Blue and Cold. We've got Doctor Strange Volume 3, which was named as Doctor Strange, I believe, Master of the Mystic Arts, or is it Sorcerer Supreme? What is that one called, Omar? Doctor Strange 3?
It's Doctor Strange 3 and it's Sorcerer Supreme. No,
Master of the Mystic Arts.
Yeah.
That was number 16. We got number 18, which is Agent Venom. It was the first book we talked about today. We got an announcement of X-Men Onslaught Aftermath, or Trial of Gambit, whatever you want to call it. That was number 24. We got Spider-Man by David Michelin and Mark Bagley, Volume 2, which is number 25. We got Ultimate Fantastic Four, Volume 1, which was number 39. We got Silver Surfer by Steve Englehart, which I think they called Silver Surfer into the spaceways.
Into the spaceways.
Yeah. At number 40, we got a Web of Spider-Man Volume 1, which was number 46. We got a Fantastic Four Volume 6, which was number 52. And we got a Marvel 2099, Doom 2099, which was number 54. So of the top 60, we got 1/4 of the books. But here's things that you did not know because we did not announce it out loud. Out of the top 100, which was pretty tight, the top 60, there's still a lot of votes for everything in the top 100. There's another 4 from the rest of the top 100. So we got a total of 19 out of the top 100. Those next 4 that were in the top 100 that we got were X Factor Volume 4 by Peter David, which of course we've announced previously. Ghost Rider by Danny Ketch Volume 2, which we had in this episode. Namor the Submariner, Silver Age Volume 1, which we had in this episode. And Doctor Strange by Jed McKay, which we had in this episode. But then I kept going and looked at the old 200, and there was another 7 books from the top 200. So Marvel's really knocking stuff out from the omnibuses that we most want. This is pretty fun to see. And they didn't see the results past 60, Omar, right? You only share the top 60 with David?
I did. I shared the top 60 with David.
So they don't know what was in our top 100 or
not reprints.
Reprints.
Yeah, most wanted.
Yeah. So this is all from the most wanted. I should have said Tiger Eyes on the slide. So there you go.
I will say they're still trying other things from that poll that I may or may not know nothing about. Late request. During Blue and Gold era, there's a Marvel Comics Presents 82 to 87 story versus Mystique and the Freedom Force uncollected anywhere. Should be added. Marco, you're the first person that has mentioned that. Peter, you failed me for the last.
Marco's blowing me away here.
We don't have anything added to that omnibus, do we?
No, I don't think. Marco, that's a deep cut, y'all.
Blue and gold. Let me double check. Can you double check what that is, Peter? What issues they are? 82 to 87, like if it's the A story or something. I'm trying to make it easier.
Well, there's like 4 stories per issue, so it's you want to know which number it is. Hold on.
MCP 82 to 8. My assistant needs an assistant. Anybody want to volunteer? James, where are you at? It's the Mystique and Firestar story.
Okay.
How is that not on a? Well, no, that wouldn't be.
There's really nowhere else for it to go.
Hello, New Warriors Omnibus Volume.
Oh 1. Yeah, why is it not New Warriors?
Because I wasn't mapping things back then.
Oh.
This is on. There we go.
Oh. Let's see. What is that story called? It's called Life During Wartime.
Okay.
And it is
Fear itself. Fear itself is something completely different.
Yeah, and it's a different position in every one of those issues. It's not like consistently the 3rd story or the 4th story. The A story throughout that whole period is always Wolverine, but it's sometimes it's 2nd, sometimes it's 4th.
Derek is saying that it's in the Firestar trade paperback. I don't remember that.
Let me take a look.
I could have sworn I had that trade paperback and I gave it away because that was then later collected in an omnibus. Omar, did you catch the Dr. Aphra suggestions? Oh my god, no.
It was
Unless
a
I
while
said it.
ago. They're pretty good.
Tell me what they are if you can tell me right now. Because
Hold on, there's one topic at a time. So the X-Men Origins
that's not the way my brain
Firestar,
works.
the X-Men Firestar trade paperback, at least in the listing, does not say that it includes those MCP issues.
I don't think it does. 'Cause I had it and I gave it away, and I think it's just the 4-issue miniseries.
Yeah, let me just look on the Kindle version and see if it's if the Kindle
Not
version
the
says
Firestar
that.
Digest, but the X-Men Origins trade paperback.
Yeah, that's the one I'm looking at. It doesn't. I mean, maybe it did. It doesn't say it.
Yeah, but sometimes they don't leave. They don't. Oh, this is a good suggestion though. When does that New Warriors Companion Omni come? Oh, I think
it is in there. Hold on, one topic at a time. It's on. It's on the back cover, confirming
This is what it feels like when you're replying back to the chat and I'm talking to you.
So Marvel Comics Presents is in that Firestar trade. It's not listed in the list of contents, but I'm confirming from the back cover that it is in there. Yes.
Somebody needs to update Crushing Crisis.
That's true. All right. What was the next thing we moved on to? Dr.
I
Aphra?
don't know. Let me get the super chat from John. John, vote for Michelini Clayton reprint, you jabronis. That's the way to get people to vote. Insult them. Somebody told what? Oh, it was Aphra. Somebody said Aphra. What was the suggestions for Dr. Aphra?
Hold on. I'm getting it. I'm getting it.
Please
there it is. You found it before me.
Star Wars: A New Legacy #1. Aphra stories by Solon Gillen. Darth Vader 35 and 36 Aphra arc. Maybe also Dark Droids Aphra and friends appeared.
There's very good arguments for all of this. I think
the Dark Droids a one shot.
I believe it was a mini during the Dark Droids. Or maybe there was one shots. So the new legacy is interesting because it's interesting because you could look at that one shot as a kickoff to the new era of Star Wars stuff, which is why Aphra's in it, and it kind of teases she has a new series coming. Or you could look at it as a cap of the old one, especially since Soul and Gillen are the ones that write the stories. So I could see an argument to pull it into this omnibus, and I could see an argument for let it go. It's going to be collected with this next era. Vader, she is in it. And it's really tempting, but it's also deeply a part of what Greg Pak's ongoing Vader storyline is, which is really intriguing. So I just don't know if it excerpts well just because she's there, because there's so much continuity to that Vader. But the Dark Droids one is
Vader
tempting.
Which Vader?
That would be 2020's Greg Pak's Vader. It's just there's just so much deep continuity ongoing in that Vader series that it's hard to think about pulling out just 2 issues. But you're not wrong. She does appear there. I'm not saying it was a bad call. I'm just saying I have trouble wrapping my mind around it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Give me a second. Thanks for suggesting that. Aphra stories and Soul and Gillen and then Darth Vader. Okay.
Oh, but wait. All right. When we're all done this, I have to update this slide because Tiger Eyes pointed out that I actually didn't track the newest announcements. And so there's even more things to talk about that we haven't talked about yet. So let's finish this thought. Yeah.
I got to go get my laptop in a minute because I have to interview Ron Mars at 6 p.m. So I have to create a stream for that. But stay here. But go ahead. Tell me what's going on.
So Tiger Eyes pointed out that we actually didn't retally based on this newest set of announcements. So all those numbers on this slide are actually a lie. They're a lie because additionally there was the Nom at number 48. There was the Alpha Flight Mount Low. So I have to read.
Oh yeah.
Some of these are actually lower than what is the actual number. Because we didn't include, it doesn't actually include everything in this presentation.
Can we ask for Dr. Aphra to include Blood Hunt? Stop it, please. You're gonna break my brain. I don't know how I'm gonna hold an interview with Ron Mars. What's the second? Thanks. When are the Omni polls? So far we only have. Right now is the epic reprint poll that's going on the 14th. April 14th at 6 p.m. we're kicking off the Marvel Omni reprint poll, and that will end on Tuesday, April the 22nd, and then we're kicking on the 28th the Tiger Eyes poll. So Tiger Eyes, make yourself available at 6 p.m. Star Wars is dead, and I want to watch Andor. Thanks for reminding me. Ask Ron Mars what issues of X Factor would be in the. I'm going to ask him to add Judgment. or what's it called, blood hunt to his book that he's working on.
All right, so updated count. There's actually 21 omnibuses announced from the top 60, which means we've had over a third of the top 60 announced, which is frigging crazy. I didn't update the slide, verbal only, because you're about to run. So
I wasn't about to run, but if we're about to wrap up, then holy crap. Yeah. That's big, man. That's awesome. Like, seriously. Hey, Gabriel, how are you, man? Here's the thing. I also share our list with DC, and DC has been killing it lately too. I know this is a Marvel stream, but oh my gosh, the things that DC is publishing, especially the things from the list that we sent their way, that I'm curious about whenever we start doing the DC polls in May. Like how much of our list they actually took. Because remember, they said, thank you for the list. We are going to take these and to the right people. And some of the stuff, man, was really surprising. If people watching the streams are target audience of these books, makes sense to listen. Correct. It's got me researching stuff in the middle of researching stuff. Are you talking about me? Are you talking? You got enough time to talk about me behind my back?
That's right. I'm researching the research and I'm talking about you behind your back. Omar.
That means I'm not giving you enough to do, is what that means. Omar, any news on Daredevil by McKay trade paperback being reprinted? Will that request go with these? Yes, that request will go with these. It's a reminder, not much of a request. It's no longer Marvel, but I want more Conan. You are getting Conan twice a month, Savage Sword and the original years. They are coming.
It's really good.
What's your suggestion, Derek, for the Death of Captain Marvel? I think they said no to some of the people that asked for, what was it? It was like a legacy series and something else. I can't remember. I have clout. Thanks, Jean-Remy Argueta. Love you, Omar and Peter. You do great work. Much love back to you, buddy. Yes, May is the entire month of May is dedicated to DC. I'm going to vote for Flash Golden with 250 email accounts. You do that, you will be found. I will find you. Whatever happened to Matt, my ex Magneto? We had to postpone. Somebody got sick, so things like that happen, right? And we're hoping to bring it back. We were thinking in April, but there's just so much to do in April. Perhaps May. Any news on Carol Danvers by Kelly Thompson? Yes, it's coming back out, but not as volume 2. I messaged Dom and he announced it on the Saturday live stream.
Yeah,
it's
kind of exciting to get a random Omni announcement. I mean, we've already had an announcement of the contents, but
yeah,
I don't think any of us were expecting that from that stream.
It looks like it's June, but that date could change at any time. It's the Captain Marvel highest, furthest, fastest omnibus is what it's called. So that's your update. Omar is running a sweatshop. I do not. I keep my house really cool. My suggestion is to cut these prices a bit. Take that up with your congressman. I've been watching the live stream for 3 hours and haven't seen the backs of any chairs yet. Yeah, I know. It's crazy, right? We haven't moved. I have this. I don't know what Peter keeps around him. I got a bottle. It's an emergency bottle just in case. I'm kidding. Is there a reason they revealed a June 2025 book already? Is there a reason? Oh, you mean a 2026?
Yeah.
Book, Tiger Eyes. Because people kept asking. You know, it's I know of other Omnis that are coming in 2026 that were supposed to be in these round of announcements, but they had to move things. So basically, they also need, they need the time to work on these things too. Annoying having a volume 1 than a non-volume 2 for Captain Marvel. I understand. But Vars asks, what's worse? Having a volume 1 and not having a volume 2 at all? Or having a volume 1 and having a volume 2 under the name something else? Omar in Crisis, what issue or story arc of X-Men made you drop your jaws in a good way? Ooh. Yeah, the KRAKOA, House and Power, House 2, right, Peter? The Mora, 10 Lives of Mora McTaggart.
Yes,
That one made me drop, like legit. Oh man, I was so giddy. I was like, I can't believe I'm reading X-Men and enjoying it this much again. The revelation of Zorn in New X-Men, because I was like, yes, finally we're back to the classic stuff. It didn't go the way I wanted it to, but the revelation I thought was really good. Oh dude, tears and jaw dropping. I got 2 words for you, bub, in Astonishing X-Men 6.
Yeah, I think that whole first arc of Astonishing X-Men, probably for me, I would say, I think Planet Size X-Men, I just was so epic. It was so big.
Oh yeah,
like we usually don't see the X-Men at that like planet wide scale. So just to see the act of creation of Lara's basically telling him, show the creation myth of a planet, that to me was jaw dropping from an art perspective. I think. I mean, I'm a big fan when they finally reveal something. Oh, Omar, if you hit reload, I fixed all the stats on that last slide. And
you
very
did?
different. Yeah, I just did.
You also have the power to show the sluts, because
but I can't force your slide to reload. I don't think.
Actually,
so
no, you can. You can tell me. You can move.
I love whenever like a long running piece of continuity finally gets paid off. So that's the kind of stuff that I tend to jaw drop for. Not jaw dropping, but a moment that just lives in my brain when Logan and Lara are both about to go out on the Children of the Vault mission in early Hickman, and one of them's like, Wolverine should go, and Logan goes, she is. That I love that. Like, so less jaw dropping and just like moments that are embedded in my memory because they were great moments, you know. So yeah, updated numbers. There's way more than I said because I was a liar and Tiger Eyes pointed out. So we actually have 35% of the top 60, 27% of the top 100, and 21% of the top 200 because we had not yet tabulated the books from this stream into these numbers. So now it is inclusive. And that's a lot, y'all. You got pretty much a third of what you wanted, no matter how you slice it, or a fifth is what you wanted down to the top 200. There are only 600 results. So Marvel did a pretty dang good job, I would say.
I agree. Now we do this all over again.
Oh my lord.
Mark also loves the trial of Gambit. I do not. I hate that story with a passion. Will I get the omnibus? Absolutely. Will I keep my 2 cents out of my overview? Yes, because I'm sure some people love it. But if you want my opinions, just ask me on my Saturday live stream. That story sucked. That was horrible retcon. I'm sure Peter loves it.
I mean, well, again, I like things that resolve continuity. So finally explaining all of the Gambit background that had been teased for like 5 years at that point was very satisfying to me when I finally got back and read it. I'm not saying it's one of my favorite stories. I just go up for that stuff. Things that resolve long teased backstories are my thing, you know?
You know, if ever I question my ability to leave my 2 cents out of my overviews, I just have to remind myself to look back at my House of M Omnibus overview and the Identity Crisis overview, because I hate both of those stories so much. But I don't think you could tell. I think I did a pretty good job, like not saying how much. House of M. Oh, I just answered your question. Just KRAKOA, baby. House of M was that dumb. Maybe Peter likes it too. Crisis. You are an epic guy. Did you?
I own every epic collection.
Do you really?
Not. I am missing the Alien. I don't have things that are not 616. So I don't have Planet of the Apes. I don't have Aliens, although I'm thinking about buying it, and I don't have Star Wars. But I own every 616 epic. So.
Oh man.
One of you could have my votes. Tell me what I'm supposed to vote for, and I'll vote.
No, it's not the way we do things here.
No, that's not American.
Announced or released,
I live in New Zealand, so
weren't in the top 200. Just work the math backwards. Take the math backwards.
Guggenheim, X-Men by Guggenheim. That's the answer to that question.
That wasn't in the top 200?
It wasn't in the top 300 or the top 400.
Omar needs to grow some balls and stop doing overviews and start doing reviews, be a man and rate the books. What? And that'll be like every other YouTube channel. Let me tell you why comics are dying. And my hashtag will be like this, right? Or not my hashtag, my thumbnail will be like that, or like this. Or, all these stereotypical, thank you, baby. All these stereotypical thumbnails, man. Like, it just, like, I see them pop up on my feed, and I'm like, oh my God, are people really listening to these people complain? I don't need anybody to tell me why Zeb Wells' Spider-Man sucks. I'll just read it my damn self. I don't need somebody else. I don't watch movie reviews either, man. I don't know how anybody else does, but I don't think I've watched movie reviews since Siskel and Ebert. That's huge. That's a long time ago. Rant about woke comics, Omar. Yes, I'll rant all about the Riververse. Please don't change, Omar. Your reviews are a resource. Thank you. Oh yeah, Ryan is he's a little yapper. He's like a little dog in his avatar. He just yaps. He ain't got no bite. He ain't got no teeth. All right. Why is Paul woke? People really hard up on Paul.
I mean, he's awake for most of his appearances. I don't think we've ever seen him sleeping.
He's the Zeb Wells guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Paul. I'm a Paul truther. I'm part of the apocalypse.
Shut up. Are you know what? I bet you are with some of your opinions.
Here's the thing. I think I've already come to peace with the fact that Spider-Man's not with Mary Jane in main continuity. I think I made my peace with that like 10 years ago. In the same way I made my peace that X-Men comics are bad 10 years ago. So like I don't get as upset, I think, about as other people about Spider-Man stuff. So I was like, hey man, it's a cool story. There's Paul, there's a pocket universe, there's kids, whatever. Like I just thought it was a cool story, right? But I do think, and we could have a whole side conversation about this, people don't have patience for long running plot reveals anymore. And it's like, you couldn't do what you did with Trial of Gambit and string us along for 50 issues the way you did then now. Paul Wells had this plan that he was going to string us along for 20 issues, which wasn't 20 months. It was a double shipping book in Spider-Man to explain what Peter Parker did. Who is Paul? Where did Mary Jane go? And by the time we got to issue 20, fans were so enraged that it wouldn't have mattered what the story was, because people don't have the patience to wait 10 months for an answer anymore. That's why all New Venom, I'm not going to spoil anything, but all New Venom, they only waited 5 issues to reveal who it is. It's being revealed this week who all New Venom is, because long unrevealed plots now just make fans angry. That's just where we are in modern day comic books. Man, so I think Paul was going to piss people off no matter what. What?
Somebody spoiled all New Venom for me.
I went and spoiled myself over the course of the stream, but my lips are sealed until my show next week. Anyway, I want to know. I love spoilers. I want them all over my body.
You're such a monster, man. Yeah, no way. I'm the opposite. I don't like spoilers, and it sucks, right? Because I read them in trade. I was upset. I was like, what? And it was on Twitter, I think. And I don't ever go on Twitter, but maybe once a week to go and reply back to a couple of people that Taylor can't reply back to. And of course it's there. And I'm like, oh man, I'm really enjoying Al Ewing's Venom. And I didn't know that's where he was going to go, but whatever. You're a Paul fanatic. Of course you are. All New Venom is Howard the Duck. Holy shit.
That would be amazing.
Watching hours ago. Baby, we can keep going. I got my coffee. I can go another couple hours. But unfortunately, I do have to get ready for my interview with Ron Mars. Somebody was asking about how do I feel about the Transformers Kickstarter, how we feel. I can tell you how excited I am. I'm actually going to have Sean, the editor from Skybound Transformers, the one that's working on these Kickstarters, join me on April 8th at 2 p.m. Eastern time. I think is what we set it for. I'll double check. Maybe 5 p.m. Eastern time. And, interview him about what exactly the Transformers Kickstarter is going to have, how they're going to map the books, because that is very important to me, especially when you're including the UK stuff. So I'm excited for it. What about you, Peter?
I think it's one of the most audaciously great campaigns of books or mapping books that we've ever had. I mean, the fact that they're they looked into, got the rights for, and then integrated the UK stories. This is the kind of stuff we're asking for on things like the KRAKOA Omnibus, on things like it's a dream. It shows that the people working on the property are the true fans of the property, and that shouldn't be a requirement, right? Sometimes having fans work on a property is a bad thing. Sometimes it gets insular. Sometimes it's like not open to new people who are going to be on the market and buy the thing and be excited about the thing. But in this case, I think it was the right move, and it makes something about deep in my soul really, really happy to like see somebody treat the Transformers comics that seriously, that they're like, y'all, we did the homework. This is going to be the perfect version. I just think that's so cool.
I really hope so, because I have my opinions about that G.I. Joe compendium. I wasn't happy with the mapping. I think it could have done better. If they get James Robertson to map this set, oh my God, the man has... I mean, he worked for IDW. He was the editor on all the UK Marvel Transformers and went through the entire. He's kind of a madman like Peter, just breaking down issues like this fits in here while this character was doing that. That's why we did it this way over here in the UK. If they get that guy to map these, and I'm going to suggest it again because I've suggested it to them through email, but if they get him to map it, oh my God, you're looking at the perfect set. Yeah. Skybound have a golden opportunity to royally not F us the UK-US continuity. Yeah, I don't think people realize how important it is to us Transformers fans how to get that right. Omar, did someone tell you that you got roasted by Sticky Goose Comics? No. Was I drunk? I thought part of a roast meant I had to be there. Did I get the Sticky Goose Comics a comic shop?
What kind of comics do geese like, and how did they get them sticky?
I'm just wondering how drunk I was to get roasted and not realize it. Hate G.I. Joe versus Transformers. Yeah, see, that was my problem. Like, there's problems with the mapping in the first compendium. I mean, it's still wonderful, right? But I want this, because Transformers was my childhood. I want this to be perfect. And I bet, you know what? G.I. Joe was huge, right? It was a huge Kickstarter. I'm actually interviewing them the day, or Sean, the day that it goes live. So it goes live April 8th at 9 a.m. So I'll have him on my show that same day. What's your schedule for the rest of the week? Busy. Every day I have a live stream. Tomorrow we're going at 6 p.m. Right now, today I'm 6 p.m. I'm interviewing Ron Mars. Tomorrow, trade paperbacks, something else. Conan, I think, or Scalped Volume 2. And then Peter, myself, Omnidog, Lars, Maddie, Domovax, Omnibo, and BJ Kicks are joining me to look at the entire DC catalog. So set some hours aside to join us. Wednesday, I have Reels Talk with Amanda. In the morning, I think it's the Marvel Handbook or Absolute Promethea, new printing. Thursday's the Marvel catalog at 2 p.m. Peter, you're with me 3 days this week.
Yeah, nobody's bringing me any coffee so far. I don't know.
Well, you didn't live all the way in New Zealand.
That's the excuse for everything.
Yeah,
5 million people here. Somebody can bring me
good
coffee.
old America. All right. Omar never gets in the YouTube drama. He's so boring. No, I'm just old, man. I don't give a shit about people's dramas. I don't care. I'm just old. You get to be a certain age and you just don't care. You just stop caring, man. Okay. And on that note, I do care about you all, but I got to get out of here. I'm going to go and create a stream for Ron Mars. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. Smash that like button on the way out. Thank you so much for suggesting all these books. We'll see what Marvel says. And a big, big shout out to my partner in crime, Crisis. With a K. Can't even spell Crisis right. Go ahead, Crisis. Tell them.
I am on Crushing Crisis at YouTube. I have been streaming a complete pull list every week of every single issue out in the American art market. We're not just talking Marvel DC. I review everything. Image, Dark Horse, Boom, anything that comes out in digital, or I can hunt down a comp copy from an indie creator, we talk about. And I've been doing it every Monday for the past quarter with no end in sight. So please stop by on Sunday afternoon in the America or Monday morning in New Zealand and Australia and keep me company while I descend into madness as I did yesterday, which ended with a brand new song that I wrote about Absolute Martian Manhunter issue #1 that I debuted live on the stream.
All right. That's it. Oh, My buddy Super Laugh Hard is asking me about Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I'm actually wrote that down to ask Marvel again. But that's it, everybody. You all stay healthy and safe. I'll see you here in less than an hour if you want to join me and Ron Mars talking about comic books. Bye-bye.